And deep for Atlanta are Bolden and Hanspard. Two teams that are desperate for a victory. In fact, the Raiders telling us there was a real sense of urgency in their practices this week after that heartbreaking loss on Monday night to Kansas City.
And of course, Dan Reese telling the Atlanta Falcons they better do something, especially offensively, to protect Chris Chandler. So we'll be keeping our eyes focused on number 12 for the Falcons.
Here's Ford's kick, and the game is underway. It'll reach the end zone. Hanspard will down it there. So the Falcons will begin on the touchback at their own 20-yard line. And Chris Chandler, who suffered the mild concussion last week, will be at quarterback. But the pressure on this offensive line, they haven't been able to establish a running game, and Chandler has taken a beating. Anton Davis has been singled out as the man on the hot seat by Dan Reeves. Chandler is in there. Harold Green gets the start, replacing the injured Jamal Anderson. Bert Emanuel is the leading receiver. First down play for Chris Chandler. Christian and Green in the backfield. That's Christian in motion. Green's first carry. Nope, it's a fake. And Chandler has the man wide open. All the way down the field, Bert Emanuel. Emanuel finally caught from behind and driven out of bounds with a flag down at the 26-yard line. Great fake by Chandler. Caught everyone by surprise. 54 yards to Emanuel. James Trapp, the speedster, the only man that could chase him down. Jerry Markbright is today's referee.
Well, as they sort this out, though, Tom, one thing that Chris Chandler told us that they want to throw more on first down. Boom, he showed it on the very first play of the game. I think might have caught the Oakland Raiders by surprise because they have been the majority of times on first down running the football. Great call.
Illegal hands to the face. Number 87, offense. 10-yard penalty, first down.
So Emanuel with hands to the face, I presume, on James Trapp, who was trying to make the tackle. Let's see.
And there's the play. I mean, we talk about, and I spoke a little earlier about the play-action fake, and excellently ran by Chandler right here. He fakes almost every single defensive player out, and it's just a matter of a foot race down the sideline. And here's a good instant replay of this. Good fake by Green being able to convince the linebackers that he had the football. And then it's all a foot race down the sideline. And, of course, there's the arm to the face that you cannot do. But still, first down in Raider territory.
So a big play by the Falcons on their first play from scrimmage. After the penalty, they'll begin at the Raider 36-yard line with a first down.
Tom, I think before the day's over, you might be seeing a few of those bootlegs, especially on first down.
Hanspard, the lone setback. Santiago in motion. Hanspard turns the corner and pounds inside the 35 to the 33-yard line. Starting defense for the Raiders. This is the worst defense in the NFL. Should be good up front. They have not been, including the perennial Pro Bowler Chester McLaughlin. Leading tackler so far for the Raiders has been linebacker Mike Morton. Terry McDaniel took blame for that blown coverage, which resulted in the pass to Andre Rison as Kansas City beat Fred Whittingham, the defensive coordinator, and the Oakland Raiders with 3 seconds left in the game on Monday night. 2nd and 7 play. Chandler tripped over his center's feet. Still live, though. He hasn't been touched for the defense, and alertly slides to the 29-yard line. McLaughlin and Morton cover him there. Chandler, I think, tripped over his center's foot and then alertly got up and made a gain out of it.
A lot of times you as a quarterback, when you're dropping back, you sometimes a little lackadaisical about getting back away from the center as much. And sometimes the center pass protection is going to be coming back. And what happens if the quarterback doesn't get out quick enough, the center will tramp on your feet. And that's one thing that we want to watch today is more of the quarterback-center exchange.
Roman Fortin is the man that stepped on Chandler's foot, but Chandler alertly made a gain out of it. And so it is 3rd down. And Chandler's pass is complete. Bob Christian. Christian with a cutback. Twisted down all the way at the 12-yard line. Fights his way to the 10. 19-yard gain on a third down play. James Trapp again made a touchdown-saving tackle.
Being able to get this play off quickly, a good play action fake. What we call this is a hot receiver going on in the backfield. It's usually your fullback. You read the defense, you're able to get the football to him as quickly as possible, especially in the red area. This is a play that you must be able to use consistently once you get down inside the 20.
Bob Christian, who came over from Carolina, and against Carolina last week, the Falcons did not score a touchdown. 2 field goals only. Here's the I formation with Christian and Green. Harold Green hit at the line of scrimmage and driven back by the center of the Oakland defense, plus linebacker Greg Biekert. Chester McLaughlin was first to arrive on the scene. That front four has really been much maligned in Oakland.
And Chester McLaughlin, talking to him, he just wants to be able to come off the football, and he wants to establish himself. He's trying to make sure that every Raider on the team is ready to play Raider-style football, and that's the physical type of ball game that everybody's accustomed to seeing.
McLaughlin in his 6th year from Clemson, Pro Bowl the last 3 years, but in the red zone, the Oakland defense has stiffened up a little bit, only allowing 14% touchdown. Chandler's pass complete down to the 1-yard line to Terrence Mathis. Eric Turner kept him out of the end zone, but another big Atlanta play.
And this is something you're seeing a lot this year in the National Football League. Crossing patterns by receivers, knowing that they're able to hit them quick enough and don't have to worry about sitting back in the pocket. One thing Chandler does an excellent job here is being able to look off the linebackers and getting the ball to Mathis as quick as possible so he can turn up the field.
Close to the first down. They'll bring the chains out to measure as the Falcons take the opening kickoff and march all the way down the field. They've gone 78 yards so far and are just short of the first down. Chris Chandler off to a big start. Perfect so far.
Not bad stats. 3 for 3, 82 yards. Well, I'll take that one every week on the opening try.
And remember, lost 10 yards on a penalty. That's why it doesn't quite add up.
Oh, too bad, huh?
So third down and less than a yard for the Falcons, with the ball spotted between the 1 and the 2. Underway here in the first quarter, and Atlanta looking good against the NFL's statistically worst defense. Green stops short of the end zone. Remember, though, they can pick up a first down, and I believe he will have that.
Tom, I think that's what they were trying to do. They knew exactly what they had to do. It's not so much getting into the end zone. Of course, they would like to do that, but getting as close to the first down and moving the chains, which he does get.
First down, Atlanta. It'll be 1st and goal inside the 1.
And there's a play right here. You just have to come off the football, straight lead off tackle play. He realizes that he has to get just to, I guess, the half-yard line in order to get the first down.
And that's where the ball sits, inside the 1. 1st and goal, Atlanta.
Good place for a play-action pass right here on first down. Really nothing to lose.
79 yards on this opening game drive. There's Christian in motion. And Green for the touchdown.
Very impressive drive to open the game up. And, you know, Joe Bugel has to be second-guessing himself and the team because he went into the locker room talking about, hey, guys, this is a must-win situation for us. But the Falcons take the ball right down the field. And I did talk a little bit about a play-action passer, but they felt Harold Green right over left tackle was good enough.
And he had a huge hole to waltz into the end zone as Morton Anderson lines up for the point after. And Morton Anderson boots it through. 80-yard drive to open the game as the Atlanta Falcons take the early lead. When we come back, Jeff George returns to the AstroTurf at the Georgia Dome. The skyline of the Olympic city of Atlanta, Georgia, and inside the Georgia Dome, the home team, the Falcons, break on top 7-0 after an 8-play, 80-yard drive. It consumed just under 5 minutes. And now Morton Anderson is set to kick off for Atlanta. Howard and Hall, the deep men for the Raiders. Anderson's kick buried in the end zone. Howard will make a half-hearted attempt. He better cover it, and he does for the touchback. So now Jeff George.
I don't know whether I'd be fired up with the boos come or get excited, get down about it. But Jeff George definitely, he knew it was coming.
Jeff actually telling us yesterday that no real animosity for the fans or players of the Falcons. His gripe was with Atlanta management. In fact, he and June Jones, believe it or not, have remained good friends. Harvey Williams in motion. Napoleon Kaufman, the lone setback. A play-action fake. George steps up, throws incomplete behind his intended receiver, Napoleon Kaufman. Here's the way they line up offensively for the Raiders. Steve Wisniewski, a six-time Pro Bowler, anchors the offensive line from that left guard spot. Jeff George, Napoleon Kaufman, the leading rusher. Jet, Tim Brown, and Ricky Dudley. Brown and Dudley especially off to great starts. In fact, Tim Brown is the leading receiver in the National Football League with 19 receptions, 313 yards, and 3 TDs in the first 2 weeks of the season. George, chased from the pocket, and throws it at the feet of Davison. Well, the Atlanta game plan has been to apply the pressure on Jeff George, and they can do it. This front four is off to a terrific start, including Archambault, who leads the NFL with 4 sacks. Atlanta overall has 10 sacks in the first 2 weeks of the season. Jesse Tuggle, the perennial leading tackler for the Falcons. The last 8 years he has led them in tackles. And Ray Buchanan, who came over from the Colts, one of the best cover men in the NFL. And there is Lester Archambault on 3rd and 10. He'll be coming after Jeff George. 3 wide receiver formation. George under pressure. Still on his feet. Puts it downfield, intended for Kenny Shedd, but incomplete. And on the opening series, the Atlanta defensive pressure pays off. 3 straight incompletions by Jeff George.
They're kind of surprised that they did come out throwing the football 3 times. And 2 plays ago, I think there's a little miscommunication between Jeff and the receivers because Tim Brown and Jet both weren't running their patterns. I don't know if it was a broken play or what the situation was, but you don't want to come in or 3 plays and out on your first series.
So Leo Aragus in pump formation for the Raiders. He'll be kicking toward Todd Kinchin. Kinchin backpedaling, taking it at the 25-yard line and ridden down at about the 32-yard line by Holston. 54-yard punt, 4 yards on the Kinchin return. Here in Atlanta, Chandler and the Falcons with the early lead on the Raiders. 7-0 Falcons after Chris Chandler directed an 80-yard drive off the opening kickoff. Chandler in his 10th season. He is with his 6th NFL team. Has passed for over 13,000 yards. 1 more TD than interceptions, but everyone agrees that if you give him time, he can be effective, and as you see, perfect on that opening drive. Hand off to Hanspard. Got the football back, but lost yardage on the play. Back to the 29-yard line. The rookie from Texas Tech, 3rd-round draft choice, who had carried only 4 times coming into today's game. Averted disaster there.
It's interesting, you talked about Chris Chandler being with 6 different teams. And for a quarterback, that's a lot because that's different philosophy on each individual team. But to get a good grasp of the offense, you would like to at least be there 2, 3, 4 years, but 6 teams, that's a lot.
As you see the other scores, both the Raiders and the Falcons telling us that the problem with him has been injury prone and has been with some bad teams, not good protection. That's been the problem for the Falcons in the first 2 weeks of the season. Nice one-handed grab by O.J. Santiago. The rookie tight end from Kent State stuck out a big paw and made that catch, then tackled by Fredrickson and McDaniel.
and big tight end, and he is a big Bills fan. He said he watched me growing up, and he said that one thing he wanted to do was be a big target for Chris Chandler. He wanted to show him that he can play the game, and he wants to be that receiver that everybody wants him to be. O.J. Santiago.
Santiago a little gimpy leaving the field. The reason he was a Bills fan, he was born and grew up in nearby Ontario, Canada. Best third down passer in the NFL. One of the reasons that Dan Reeves wanted Chris Chandler on this Falcon team. Third down pass, broken up, intended for Emmanuel. And as the defense converged, it was Perry Carter that was able to knock it away. The Raiders a little short-handed in the secondary today with both Larry Brown and Eddie Anderson inactive this afternoon.
It's interesting when Dan Reeves did talk to us and tell us that the reason he picked Chris Chandler was because of third down. As a coach, or I guess an outsider, yeah, you would look at that to a certain point, but you want to look at all the other tangibles. But the main reason was his third down efficiency, and that's pretty interesting to hear Dan Reeves say that.
Dan Straczynski on fourth down, boots it toward Desmond Howard. Short punt, Howard takes a fair catch. At about the 31-yard line, there is a flag back upfield. Only a 35-yard punt by Straczynski. Penalty against Atlanta. See if they make him punt it again. As we said, the punt only covered 35 yards. Jerry Markbright trying to get the call, and the Raiders have the option.
Holding number 85, offense. 10-yard penalty, fourth down.
Brian Kozlowski with the hold, and they'll make Straczynski punt again. Well, let's see if that pays off. They would have had the ball, around the 30-yard line. After only a 35-yard punt, Straczynski gets a chance to redeem himself, though he will be starting further back.
And a lot of fans already thought Jeff George was coming back out. It's kind of interesting because if you know Jeff personally, like I do, you think he's a good guy. But I guess what happened last year with the incident between him and June Jones, a head coach is very well loved in the community and in the city. I guess it'd be a different situation if the coach wasn't like. But when you start arguing with somebody that's so well loved like the June Jones, I guess the quarterback is going to take a little bit of the heat.
David Klingler is making some notations on the armband that Jeff George wears to help him with the play calls.
Don't worry about the booze, just play football.
Is that what it says?
Yeah, I saw him writing that down.
Well, they better worry about the Atlanta defense because their pressure caused him to throw 3 straight interceptions in the first series. Straczynski punts again. This is a better punt. Desmond Howard couldn't get away from the special teams coverage of the Atlanta Falcons. Christian and Downs arrived on the scene immediately, and he lost a yard on the return. Straczynski that time booted it 41 yards. Christian did the job on special teams, and Atlanta's on top by 7. Who's the best young pass rusher in the league at NBCSports.com. First down play. George with the give to Napoleon Kaufman. Able to turn the corner, run out of bounds short of the 40-yard line. Devin Bush pushed him out of bounds as Kaufman gets his first carry. In fact, I think you told me in the commercial, Jim, that I said that George had thrown 3 straight interceptions, 3 straight incompletions, I should have said, on the first possession by the Raiders, and so Kaufman gets his first carry.
And of course, I would pick that up because I know all about interceptions and completions.
I apologize, Jeff. 3 straight incompletions on your first series. That's Williams in motion, and the pitch is to Kaufman. Kaufman gets a block and cuts through a big hole. Cut back. Kaufman down the sideline with Tim Brown in front. Napoleon Kaufman to the 5 and touchdown. 61-yard ramble by Napoleon Kaufman.
And you look at this play here, Harvey Williams comes down, he really hits below the waist, which on a crackback you can't do. But it's just all Napoleon Kaufman right here with the run. Some excellent block, and Tim Brown's trying to find out who he should block on this, but Kaufman uses his blockers very well coming down the field and able to get into the end zone before he is tackled.
The big tight end Ricky Dudley was also all the way downfield blocking as Cole Ford lines up for the extra point attempt. Through the uprights to tie the game. 61 yards by Napoleon Kaufman, much to the delight of Jeff George, as the Raiders tie the Falcons at 7.
On this last play, I talked about Kaufman being able to guide going in motion and cracking back on Chuck Smith right here. Harvey Williams comes down. It's a very questionable call. You're not allowed to crack back below the waist, as you can see right here. And but it enables Kaufman to get up through the hole in a big run, 6 points.
There's Harvey Williams, who made the block as Ford kicks off, and it reaches the end zone where Bolden will bring it out. Breaking to the sideline, Bolden run out of bounds at about the 28-yard line by Branch. Now let's go to Greg Gumbel in New York for an update. Greg?
All right, Tom, at the Meadowlands, these are the Ravens on their first possession of the day. Vinny Testaverde from 22 yards out finds Derek Alexander so wide open. Anybody could have hit him. 7-0. Ravens lead the Giants. Back to Atlanta. Tom and Jim.
All right, Greg, we're at 7-7. Anybody could have hit him. Dissing your quarterbacks there, Jim.
Well, I don't know about that.
There is a Raider down on the field. I think it's Davison. And Davison helped to his feet. Well, the Raiders have that reputation of being the quick strike offense. Joe Bugle and all his predecessors, the Al Davis philosophy of the vertical game, stretching the field. You don't expect him to get it on the ground, though, as Napoleon Kaufman goes 61 yards for the touchdown.
But as a quarterback, that's what you like to see, the big plays, the long run after a catch.
And look at the time of possession. It took them only 38 seconds to score the touchdown.
Reminds me of the run-shoot days back in the USFL, and of course the no-huddle offense. We were able to score at a quick pace.
Two tight end formation here, Santiago and West on first down. Play action fake. Chandler rolls, plants his feet and delivers incomplete. Ball up for grabs. Out of bounds, no interception. James Trapp caught the football but could not remain in the field of play. It'll go as an incompletion.
It was almost like the same play that we saw before, but one thing Terrence Mathis has to do, he has to start trying to catch the ball with his hands out in front of him. He tries to let that one get a little bit too much into his body. Chris Chandler is able to follow through, but as you saw right there, he tries to catch the football with his pads. And as a receiver, the receiver's coach always tries to tell you, catch the ball out in front of you, get those hands out there.
Mathis, in his 8th season from New Mexico, has 4 receptions coming into the game and 1 today. Chandler on second down. Throws a screen pass to Hansbard. Hansbard caught from behind, dragged down by Rob Fredrickson, about a yard short of the first down.
Well, Gene Williams liked to have that one back because he was the lead blocker coming out there, number 68. When you have a screen pass, that's the key. The offensive lineman getting out there and being able to hit the linebackers, enabling the running back to be able to cut back.
See the other scores. Arizona leading Washington in the inaugural Jet Kent Cook Stadium today.
And Tom, the offensive line for the Falcons have done a pretty good job so far, giving Chandler time to throw the football.
Green and Christian split backs on third down and a yard. Chandler fumbled the exchange. It's loose, picked up by the Raiders. Then they fumble, still on the turf, scramble for it. Falcons, I think, got it back. Wow, what a turn of events.
And they talked about this yesterday. They've been working on it time and time again. We talked to Fortin about the center quarterback exchange, and they said they've had problems. I mean, the preseason, everything went well, but lately they've been missing the handoff as far as between the quarterback and the center. That's something that you can't have happen.
Bert Emanuel saves the day for the Falcons as he pounces on the football when it looked like the Raiders might have been on their way to a touchdown. Eric Turner was the man that had clear sailing, and suddenly he loses it.
It's really hard to tell exactly who was at fault there because Chris Chandler almost looked like he wasn't ready for the football, but a fumble, and they're lucky to get that one back.
You know, a doubly fine play by Bert Emanuel because he knocked the ball loose from Turner and then pounced on it. So a disaster averted for the Falcons. They have it with a first down.
The one thing Chris Chandler has in his mind right now, don't fumble the snap, and you don't want to do that as a quarterback.
First down pass complete. Emanuel. He's the man of the hour for the Falcons. He catches the ball at the 44-yard line of the Raiders. Bumped out of bounds there by Terry McDaniel. And another first down pass successful for Atlanta.
And here's right from behind him what Chris Chandler does. He just stays under center a hair longer to make sure he gets that exchange. And all this was a timing pattern on the outside. An excellent route by Emanuel.
Emanuel pounced on the fumble, then takes the reception. And so far, Chris Chandler already over 100 yards passing in the first quarter. He's hit 6 of 8. Just over 5 minutes left in the opening period. Draw play handoff, Harold Green, only a couple of yards. Greg Biekert and others on the tackle for the Raiders. Green getting the start, replacing Jamal Anderson today. Anderson with an ankle injury hasn't been quite full speed.
Tacklers led by number 67.
And Green, the all-purpose man who played 6 years for Cincinnati for the Rams last year.
And I talked a little bit about in the opening about the Falcons' offensive line feels it's so much easier now to get this offense and being able to practice against a team that, with this style, they're getting away from that run and shoot, knowing that they have to throw every single down.
Anderson is available to play today. You saw him on the sideline. Plenty of time for Chandler, but his pass too wide for Ed West, one of his tight ends. Well, the much maligned offensive line of the Falcons challenged by Dan Reeves, and overall this first quarter played pretty well, don't you think, Jim?
Yeah, very well. And right there, Tom, you look at that pass by Chandler, thrown from the right sideline on that particular throw, was covered pretty well. He took a chance on that one. If that one's a little behind the receiver, that could be intercepted for 6 points. But Chandler right now, as you can tell, he's more confident. He's sitting in the pocket. He's having the pass protection. The offensive line is doing an excellent job today so far.
Art Shell's offensive line has been up to the task. It's third down. And there is Shell on the sideline. They've converted 3 of 4 third down situations so far. Free play here. Looks like the Raiders jumped offside and the play stopped. Lance Johnstone came sprinting across. Now let's see if he was drawn or not. No, it is offside.
Number 51, defense. Unabated to the quarterback. 5-yard penalty. Third down.
Unabated to the quarterback is why they stopped the play. Johnstone offside, and the Raiders, the worst penalized team in the league perennially, but this year look at their improvement. Joe Bugle instituted a no cussing policy with the Raiders. Believe it or not, the Raiders not allowed to cuss. And why is that? Well, he said it's all mental discipline. If we can do that, then we can perpetuate this Raider image, which is tough football, but not cheap shot, trash talking, and unnecessary penalties. I don't know if you believe in the method or not, but the results have been good.
That's all it counts.
Chandler's pass downfield and a flag down. There's another penalty. Terry McDaniel, who was victimized by Andre Rison on Monday night, he called for the interference here.
That just wasn't a very smart play by Terry McDaniel. The ball was uncatchable, but you cannot hit a receiver that far downfield. I mean, Terry McDaniel is a veteran.
Illegal contact foul. Number 36, defense. 5-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
He's been in this league over 10 years, Tom, and that's something I'm sure he's looking at himself saying, why did I do that?
The illegal contact foul and not the interference. 5-yard penalty, but automatic first down. And 26 yards in penalties so far by the Raiders compared to 20 for the Falcons. Joe Bugle's defense surrendered an 80-yard drive off the opening kickoff and now in danger here of giving up more points to the Falcons.
And Joe Bugle pulled his team together Wednesday and showed him a lot of the positive things that happened in the Monday night loss against the Chiefs. And he said, hey guys, look at the positives. He felt he had to do that because of the media was making such a big deal about the closed locker room issue.
First down from the 33. Chandler has it deflected. The big arm of Mike Morton knocked that ball down. It looked like it was going to be an easy completion to Terrence Mathis as again they go to the first down pass. But that one deflected by Mike Morton, the former Tar Heel, third season from North Carolina.
And you see right here, example right up on top of your screen, what happens, O.J. Santiago is supposed to go down at the legs of the outside linebacker to keep him from raising his hands. And after the play, Chris Chandler went up and made sure that he knew exactly what he wanted done with the tight end there.
Morton, the former All-State tight end and running back in Kannapolis, North Carolina, full-time starter this season. 7th play of the drive. Nowhere to go for Harold Green. Collapsed by Johnstone and by Trapp for a loss on the play. All the way back to the 35-yard line.
Well, I had a feeling that they thought that they were going to throw the football right here. And you can see Trapp at the top of your screen, number 37. He just comes around the corner. This is a blitz from start to finish right here. Timed up perfect. They were looking for the pass, but I'm sure they'll settle for that one.
3rd and long coming up now for the Atlanta Falcons. This will be the 8th play of the current drive, which has consumed nearly 3 minutes. Chandler rolling, in trouble, steps free, fires for the end zone, and another flag down as Haynes was impeded in his attempt to catch up with the football by Lionel Washington.
A little bit of pushing and shoving there. I'm not sure which way this is going to go. It's one where both guys are probably going to make their notes to the official here.
Well, you see the discussion underway, and here's Jerry Markwright.
Pass interference, number 23, defense. Automatic first down.
Well, Washington not happy, and he rips that helmet off. He could get another penalty if he doesn't watch it.
Here he is in the center of your screen, and a lot of times what defensive backs do, they feel they can get away with this, but you cannot keep your hands on him. And what happens right there, what you have to do is just keep your hands off. That's going to happen.
Washington had his hands all over him. Meanwhile, Chandler scrambled free to get the ball away, but then, paid the price as he's taken down by Darrell Russell, the rookie first-round draft choice from Southern California. So the Raiders keeping the Falcons in business with penalties on this drive. Chandler, incomplete. Intended for Mathis. Good defense by the Raiders. Terry McDaniel hit him at the precise time to knock the ball free.
This is one where they had O.J. Santiago coming across formation, and if Chandler was able to hold on to the football maybe a hair longer, I think he had Santiago in the right side end zone for a touchdown. That's something, you know, if you start getting pressure, at times you're going to want to throw the football a little bit before you're ready to.
2nd and 10 with the ball spotted at the Raider 12-yard line. Draw play, Green. Beautiful tackle by Rob Fredrickson.
Number 28, Harold Green, the ball carrier.
So the offensive line starting to break down a little bit here in the latter stages of this drive.
This is one thing that they want to try to do is take some of the pressure off Chris Chandler, try to run the football. Right here is a delayed draw. But as you can see, none of the linebackers bid on it.
Art Shell's offensive line has been pretty good so far.
It's hard to think of Art Shell, Tom, as an Atlanta Falcon. I just have it in my mind as a Raider.
Chandler pumps, tight end, Santiago, stopped short of the goal line. Excellent open field tackle. Eric Turner with help from Greg Beekert. Covered 12 yards, but he couldn't quite get into the end zone. It'll be 1st and goal.
So here you see Chris Chandler comes back. A good pump fake to the right to hold the linebackers, and there's just a delay to Santiago. And right there, a touchdown saving tackle, but again, a first down, 1st and goal on the 1.
Santiago, a couple of big catches already today. 1st and goal. Green can't get in. Tried to submarine his way through, and no holes opened up by the Atlanta offensive line that time.
They saw the hole the last time that they were down inside that territory, and what a hole it was. But that time, maybe the Raiders took a guess and thought they would come back to the same play.
Well, will now be the time for that play-action pass you advocated earlier.
And of course, as a quarterback, Tom, we'd like to do that play-action pass maybe 2 or 3 times, because this is easy touchdown. That's if the defense is making runs.
90 seconds left in the quarter. Trying to break to the outside and still stopped short of the touchdown. Harold Green tried the overland route, and Greg Biekert, for the second straight time, is in on the tackle.
They're just going to try to run it down. They have confidence in their guys. They'll be able to push these guys off, but that play was designed to go up inside, but Harold Green knew that there wasn't a hole. Good second effort. Didn't quite get in there, and as you can see, Joe Bugle loves it.
He's a very emotional coach, self-admitted very emotional, sometimes maybe a little too much, but trying to rally his troops here. It's going to be 3rd and goal from the 1.
This is where I love to run the football. You bring 3 wide receivers in the game, and you want to make sure that they think and pass and then run the football.
That's the play. Harold Green stopped for a loss. It'll be 4th down. Big play by the defense, led by Darrell Russell, the talented rookie, second player taken in the draft.
Here it is right here, but the thing is, the guys up front's got to be able to move the pile, and the Raiders' defensive line are totally 100% thinking passer. They're just coming off the football. The Falcons, you feel, will be coming up and knowing it's going to be run and come off the ball hard and aggressive, but the Raiders are one step ahead of them there.
Reeves and the Falcons will settle for the field goal attempt, a 20-yard try by Morton Anderson, who is 3 for 4 this season. And the quarter will end before Anderson can attempt the field goal. We'll begin the second period with the Falcons trying to regain the lead. 7-7 after 1 at the Georgia Dome. Tom Hammond, Jim Kelly in Atlanta. We open the second quarter with Morton Anderson attempting a 20-yard field goal to give Atlanta the lead. Puts it up and boots it through. So Anderson from 20 yards away puts Atlanta back in front. Bert Emanuel recovered the fumble that kept the drive alive. It's 10-7. You're watching the NFL on NBC.
There's a flag on the flag.
And there is a flag down on the play, and it was against the Raiders.
Holding number 87, defense. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
John Henry Mills.
Wow.
With a hold on a field goal attempt.
That's hard to believe that somebody would hold in that situation. You know what the effect of it's going to be, and that's a big blow to the defense. And there again, another Raider penalty.
So the Raider penalties, in truth, kept that drive going for Atlanta all the way through. And here it is on the field goal attempt. And boy, Joe Bugle is giving him an earful.
It's a 3rd penalty for a first down, and like you said, Tom, Joe's not too happy right now.
Well, what else can happen to the Raiders is what Joe is saying after that breakdown that caused their loss to Kansas City. Now the Falcons have a 1st and goal. Remember, they couldn't punch it in last time. They get new life after the holding call. Harold Green, same story. Mike Morton gets credit for that tackle.
Not many teams will get 6 chances inside the 5-yard line to punch it in. I think they're getting a little too conservative here. First down, little play action pass. You know there's teams right now that wouldn't do that, but right here they've had 4 tries at it. They're going with the same play. Come up with a bootleg, get your quarterback outside the pocket. You have the type of tight ends that can get open.
Net of a -1 on their last 4 plays. They've been handed every opportunity to score a touchdown by the Raiders, and they're unable to punch it in. Split back. Play action fake. Chandler for the end zone and the touchdown. Made it look easy. Jim Kelly called for that a long time ago. O.J. Santiago with the touchdown catch. His first NFL touchdown.
The end zone replay here. O.J. Santiago being able to come back and get across. That's the key to the play. Him being able to get through the defensive lineman, get past the linebackers with the play action fake and come underneath the defensive back that's near the end of the end zone. Excellent route by O.J. getting underneath it.
So here's Anderson now for the extra point. Presented a golden opportunity by the Raiders penalty. Atlanta is able to take advantage, and Anderson hits on the extra point attempt. So instead of 10-7, it's now 14-7 thanks to a Raider penalty. 14-13 left, second quarter. Makes you think of Tara, doesn't it? Rural Georgia, just outside Atlanta. And here at the Georgia Dome, 14-7, Morton Anderson set to kick off, and Falcons able to take advantage of the Oakland mistakes. In the end zone, downed by Desmond Howard, and they'll take over at the 20, but first we'll check in with Greg Gumbel in New York. Greg?
All right, Tom, thank you. And we'll go to Green Bay, where it's taken the Packers until early in the second quarter to get on the scoreboard. Brett Favre to Antonio Freeman, 2-yard touchdown that wipes out a 6-0 Dolphin lead and gives the Packers a 7-6 lead, just under 10 minutes to play in the first half. Tom?
All right, Greg, and as you see, 14-7 here after Atlanta taking advantage of the Mills penalty to punch in the touchdown, and now Jeff George. The Raiders have run only 5 plays so far in this game. Total domination of the time of possession. And Oakland looking for its first passing yards. Kaufman slips down and immediately is covered. It was Napoleon Kaufman that ran 61 yards for the Raider touchdown. They do not have any yards through the air. Chuck Smith and William White covering Kaufman after he lost his footing.
And you know who likes that time of possession? The Atlanta Falcons defense, because they're not used to seeing this, because in a run and shoot offense, there's so many times that the team is 3 plays and out, and you put a lot of pressure on your defense when you do things like that. So Atlanta Falcons are enjoying this style of offense.
Last year with the run and shoot, the Falcons didn't even carry 3 tight ends on their roster. When they scored the touchdown, they had 3 tight ends in the game. Here's Kaufman as a wide out to the bottom of the screen on second down. Jeff George complete. Davison, and Davison breaks free. Just caught by the shoe tops across the 40-yard line by Ronnie Bradford.
And as Jeff George, when you're coming back in the pocket, you want to be able to step up inside the pocket. And it's exactly what you want that happened right there. When you talked about Napoleon Kaufman out wide, I watched his route. He walked off the line of scrimmage, and you don't want to do that. If they're going to put you out wide, make something of it. Run a route, run a good pass out, because if your quarterback gets in trouble, you want to be able to throw him the football.
George's first completion covers 26 yards. Play action fake. George, sack! Travis Hall with his first sack of the season.
They're just taking over. They're just coming around him. And as you see, Jeff George feels pressure. He comes up. There's just too much pressure up the middle. And in this style of offense, Jeff George needs to have room to step up in the pocket.
Travis Hall, 3rd season from BYU, had played only 3 plays as a rookie. Started 13 times last season and had 6 sacks. George setting up a screen, complete to Kaufman. Kaufman goes one-on-one and is driven out of bounds by Big Chuck Smith before he's able to pick up a first down.
Jeff George did an excellent job of getting rid of the football here, because if you're sacked, that's a 15 to 20-yard loss. The one thing you don't want to have happen is a linebacker sometimes spies on that particular play. But Jeff George, excellent throw out there to the back.
Kaufman making that reception. He has a half dozen now on the season. And the Raiders short in the wide receiver department, too, with Olanda Truitt being inactive because of injury. They do have 3 wideouts on this play. Jet, Shed, and Brown. Jim Brown has been shut out so far, the NFL's leading receiver. Derek Fenner's in the backfield as George fires complete to the 40-yard line. Shed with the catch, and first down, Oakland.
Everybody knows about Jeff Jarm's strong arm. That's exactly what happened there. The receiver coming out of the break, Jeff George steps and fires in there. And if he throws this a little bit without any zip on, that's going to be intercepted. So Jeff knew he had to get it in between the zone. Excellent route and a big-time sling by Jeff George.
Kenny Shedd on the receiving end, it covered 16 yards, and the Raiders in business. 50% now for George after starting 0 for 3. Quick pass to Brown, broken up. The pass was a little behind him, and Ray Buchanan, who figured to be matched up on Tim Brown most of the day. The Falcons' best cover man on the Raiders' best receiver. That time the ball a little off target, and Buchanan knocked it down.
And Tom, sometimes those type of routes, quarterbacks at times like to throw the ball in the belly of the receiver, and there he just threw it a little bit behind him.
Buchanan, a former teammate of Jeff George when they were both with the Indianapolis Colts. 2nd and 10. Blitz coming.
Jeff George checking off.
Not enough. All over him as the blitz from Cornelius Bennett succeeds. You could see him coming all the way. I thought George might have been trying to change the play, but he was stopped before he could ever set up.
Yeah, what happened there, the Raiders' offensive line were just confused. As you saw before the play, everybody trying to realize who they're going to block. A lot of confusion on the offensive line. That's something that when you're a quarterback, you want to make sure the offensive line knows who they're going to block. It's usually up to the center to make sure that everybody pinpoints exactly who they have.
Cornelius Bennett, the Pro Bowl linebacker who spent 9 years in Buffalo.
The biscuit.
And long. George gets pretty good protection this time. Plenty of time. There's a flag down as Haynes made the catch. But a holding call against the Raiders will nullify it. And Jet actually that caught the ball.
Stop on the play by number 34. Ray Buchanan.
Holding number 77, offense. 10-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Left tackle Pat Harlow with the penalty, and we had bragged on the Raiders and their improvement in the penalty department, but penalties have been their undoing recently.
For Marv Levy, that's something he used to stress so much. Penalty avoidance, it could definitely kill you, especially when you have a big play.
Now 5 penalties, 44 yards against the Raiders. Third and 27 facing the Raiders. George is free and tosses to Fenner. Derek Fenner shakes one tackler but is tripped up as he crosses the 50 down to about the 48-yard line. Jesse Tuggle just able to trip up his feet. Or Fenner might have gone further, but his is well short of a first down.
Jeff George has the time to throw it to a certain point, but he just doesn't step up in the line. Well, I guess I just saw right there, he really didn't. I guess as a quarterback, you'd like to be able to step up inside the pocket. He's able to get rid of the ball, but it's pretty much you're dependent on your running back to make an excellent RAC, which is run after the catch.
Cornelius Bennett able to stop the momentum, and Aragoose, who did a good job on his first punt, will send it toward Todd Fincham. Fair catch, Pinchon at about the 13-yard line. 36-yard punt by Aragoose. Bugle and the Raiders looking for a spark here. They're only down 7, but they've been dominated so far by Atlanta. Jamal Anderson makes an appearance now in the Falcon backfield. He played 1 play thus far in the game. Not 100% because of an injury to his ankle, but gets the handoff here, and Anderson banging straight ahead with some strong running to the 20-yard line. So look at Jamal Anderson in his 4th season from Utah, former 7th-round draft choice. He came into this game as the #1 rusher for the Falcons, but only with 75 yards to his credit. Last year had over 1,000 yards in the run and shoot. Pretty consistent numbers by Chandler, especially long. Look at that, 2 for 2 on the longest attempt.
Very effective. He's doing an excellent job so far.
Big hole. Anderson didn't get through it very quickly, though. Looks like he had an opportunity for a big gainer, and the hole closes up in a hurry. Anderson is stopped right around the first down marker, maybe just a tad short. Tampa Bay have been on a roll lately, haven't they? Kansas City and Buffalo in a field goal fest. It is actually enough for the first down, just barely, by Jamal Anderson.
You see Anton Davis, he's just going at it with Anthony Smith. It's one of those where if you're an offensive lineman or if you're a quarterback sitting back there, you want your offensive line to block downfield. That time, 10 yards down the field, about 15 yards wide, so he's continuing to do his block.
Davis, former 1st-round draft choice of the Eagles. Anderson looking for some room outside. None there. Short gain, a yard or 2. McDaniel and Turner coming up to stop him.
That's the type of play you want to be able to have a back that can get out there quick. It doesn't look like Jamal Anderson is 100%. You want a back on that type of play with the speed to get out around the corner, because the offensive lineman and the wide receivers and tight end can't hold the block that long.
Dramatic fall off in production this season for Jamal Anderson, but again, hobbled a little bit by injury, not 100%. And pretty obvious when he runs the football that he is not full speed. And the Raiders have to take a timeout. Some confusion on the Oakland defense, and they burn a timeout. It comes with 7 minutes left till halftime. The NFL on NBC. Welcome back to Atlanta, where the Falcons lead the Raiders 14-7. All the attention on Jeff George, but Chris Chandler is having an excellent game.
He is, and I think the key to it is his offensive line. I mean, so much concern before the game. Is he going to have the time? Is he going to be able to make it through? But he's doing an excellent job so far. As you can see, 121 yards in the air.
Second down play. Mathis in motion. Chandler under pressure, heaves it downfield. Nearly caught by Bert Emanuel. He had double coverage, and Chandler somehow was able to get some distance on the ball despite the rush in his face.
That's one thing we just talked about, the pressure on Chandler and having the time to throw. They come with an all-out blitz straight up the middle. Chandler knows he has one-on-one on the outside, but you see he takes such a hit. But Emanuel has a chance to catch with this one. Chandler just lays it out there, knowing it's just one-on-one.
Oh, he did have a chance.
Ball should have been caught. But again, good job by Chandler, able to get away from the sack and get the throw downfield.
There's one hurry, one knockdown, one deflection so far.
Not bad. I'm sure he's happy about that.
Beaker buried him that last time, but he got it away. Mathis can't catch that one. It's too tall from the arm of Chandler. Terry McDaniel's getting a workout today. That was Emanuel that had a step on McDaniel a moment ago, and that time Mathis tried him, but the pass too tall. There is a flag on the play.
Holding number 61, offense. Penalties declined, 4th down.
Left guard Robbie Tobeck on the hold, which is declined, setting up a punting situation for Atlanta.
That wasn't so much the last play. It was high. It was a very catchable ball, but what made it so difficult that the ball was fluttering. He wasn't able to step in and throw the ball with a good tight spiral on. That makes it a lot harder to catch as a receiver.
Adam Schreiber centers the ball to Straczynski, who boots it straight up. Desmond Howard with a fair catch call, people all around him, and he fumbled the football. He was hit, I believe, by his own man. 39-yard punt. Howard struggled with it, but is able to get the football back.
Tom, I'll put it this way. You couldn't pay me enough money to sit back here because, you know, all those bodies run in. It's his own player that runs into him. The big mistake, as you can see, Desmond Howard trying to make sure everybody stays clear. Give me some room to catch the football. As you can tell, he's talking to the special teams coach. Hey, I was trying to let everybody know that. Welcome
back to Atlanta. First down run by Napoleon Kaufman of the Raiders. Stopped by Chuck Smith. short gain on the play, a couple of yards.
Number 26,
You know, Tom, prior to the Tennessee game, Tim Brown wasn't happy. He wasn't getting the football. And all of a sudden, boom, 3 touchdown passes against Tennessee, 11 catches against the Chiefs. Now he has 19 catches total. He said if he gets the football, if they look at him, he can have between 130 and 140 catches this year. That's a lot of balls.
NFL's leading receiver shut out so far. Blitz coming, Brandon, and a handoff to Kaufman. Breaks a couple of tackles, will be stopped just about a yard short of first down territory. William White tripped him up. Tim Brown telling us the best start of his career, the 19 catches to lead the NFL. 313 yards and the 3 touchdowns. In fact, he and Jeff George have become close. They go out to dinner a couple of times a week, and Tim said that he'd heard all about Jeff George, his reputation. He has found him, though, to be a guy that's interested in team success, not just in personal success, and has come close to his quarterback and also has become his go-to man. Short yardage play. Derek Fenner stacked up at the line of scrimmage. Will not make the first down. Credit Chuck Smith with a big stop. And some talk to Jeff George. Did you see Chuck Smith get in Jeff George's face?
Sometimes that fires you up as a quarterback. Yeah, come on into my face. But Jeff George talking to the players from the Falcons. They feel if they start talking to him, it'll take his mind off the game. Excellent job by David Brandon being able to come up. Oh, he's telling. I like this. I like this, Tom. I don't know what he says. He can read his mouth, but I'm sure they weren't kind words.
Fourth down. Aragoose will punt again. High snap. He pulls it down. Todd Kinchin watching it. Fields it at the 6. Can't get away. He's back to about the 18-yard line, where he's tackled by Adam True. A 52-yard punt. Then Kinchin got 11 on the return.
Taking a big chance here, Tom, fielding the ball inside.
Right, normally inside the 10, you let it go, don't you?
Yeah, that was almost inside the 5. So he took a chance. At times, yeah, it does pay off. But right there, didn't quite get it out to the 20.
So the Falcons begin from their own 19-yard line as you see the other scores flashing by on this third week of the NFL season. Chris Chandler and the Falcons leading the Raiders here, 14-7. Clock shows 4.5 minutes, second quarter. Mathis, the motion man. First down pass. Short drop. Mathis has it. Takes it to the 24-yard line. Got about 5 yards on that first down toss. And Chandler having a good game, bouncing back from the concussion he suffered, which took him out of the game against Carolina last week. Billy Joe Tolliver came in to replace him, and Billy Joe did not have a good game.
And again, you see Chris Chandler throwing on first down. I think he got his message across to Dan Reeves. I want to start throwing more on first down.
And George Sefcik, the offensive coordinator. Chandler's hit 9 of 15. Delayed handoff to Jamal Anderson. And again, Jim Anderson, to me, looks a little slow getting to the line of scrimmage.
He does. You can tell that he's not 100%.
There's holding his ankle. Did you see that?
That particular play right there, and you know, we watched him yesterday. I saw him in the training room, and he's having to rub down. But one thing that you want as a running back, you want somebody that's 100%, especially if your running game isn't going exactly the way you'd want it to.
Third and 3. Emmanuel wide, top of the screen. Mathis to the bottom. Split backs are Anderson and Christian. Raiders showing a blitz. Chandler's pass dropped by Mathis. Mathis crossing, had a step on Albert Lewis, but couldn't hold on.
You have to catch these footballs. I mean, when you're running away and you know it's man-to-man coverage and you have a step on the defensive back, you have to make these catches. This is the difference between winning and losing in the National Football League. So far, the last 2-3 passes have been very catchable balls. I'm sure Chris Chandler's not happy about that.
Dan Straczynski stands at his own 10-yard line for his third punt of the game. And the dangerous Desmond Howard at his own 30. Nearly blocked, but Straczynski got it away. Howard says get away from it, and it takes a good Oakland bounce. It'll be downed at about the 44-yard line by Bob Christian down to cover. That punt only 30 yards. Excellent chance for George and the Raiders. Jeff George, first down pass. Tim Brown's first catch of the day. Covers 12 or 13 yards and a Raider first down. William White covering, but Brown breaking inside, getting free. And George nailing him for 13 yards.
This is a play when you're a wide receiver. You like to do this because it's only pretty much a 4 or 5 yard pattern, but run after the catch is very important. And Tim Brown is one of the best in the National Football League at running after the catch.
After the poor punt, the Raiders trying to take advantage of good field position here in the closing minutes of the first half. Napoleon Kaufman bouncing to the outside. Stopped after a gain of a couple by Ray Buchanan. Couldn't get the block he needed at the point of attack. Did manage to get a couple of yards by bouncing it to the sideline.
I think the Raiders are playing a little conservative right now. When you get a quarterback with a strong arm like Jeff George, and you get receivers like Brown and Jet, utilize some of their speed, their talent on the outside. Start throwing the football a little bit more. The running game's not going the way they would like it. Yeah, they did have a big run in the first quarter, but air it out a little bit. Try to loosen up that defense.
And we'll take time out for the 2-minute warning in Atlanta, with the Falcons leading the Raiders 14-7. 2 minutes left in the half, 14-7, Atlanta leading Oakland. It's been a study in frustration most of the half for the Oakland Raiders. Their offense ranked 5th in the NFL, unable to get much going except for the 61-yard ramble by Napoleon Kaufman. But Atlanta's defense has stopped them for the most part here in the first half, but a short punt has given them good field position just before halftime. Second down pass, Jeff George down the sideline, has a man, and the ball was short. James Jett, the former Olympic sprinter, was wide open down the sideline, and the strong arm of George was not up to the task.
And you know, if you have a receiver on the outside with that type of speed, all you have to do is lead him, throw him to the outside. And he shows his world-class speed right there. But one thing Jeff George did not do, he threw off his back foot. He was off balance. He wasn't able to step into the football and throw it the way he's accustomed to doing.
How does it affect your psyche now when you've missed a throw like that? What's the quarterback thinking?
Right now is just get your rhythm, make sure that you know exactly what you're doing. And the biggest key right here on this particular play is having the time to throw.
3rd and 9, he has time. This time the strong arm is too strong. And again he had a man open, and again he missed it.
And again, Tom, Jeff George was thinking about the last play that particular time, knowing that he underthrew him that time, feeling that he had to put a little bit more on the football there, and he overthrows him.
Jett will get by Bradford again, and this time too long on the pass.
And the thing here was an excellent route by Jett. He sets him up perfectly to the outside, a little stick move. But Jeff George was going to Jett the whole time, as you can see. He stares him down. He's able to step and throw the football. But one thing about that, about 5 to 10 yards over the receiver's head.
So the Raiders miss an opportunity and will punt on 4th down. Aragoose try to down it if they can. Kinchen calls for the fair catch and makes it at the 16-yard line. Georgia's return to the Georgia Dome has not been a pleasant trip so far. 75 yards. He's hit 5 of 11 and missed 2 touchdown opportunities on that last series to James Jett.
And you know he's not happy, but one thing Jeff George has got to do right now, he's got to forget about what happened in the past, learn from it, and come out the second half and establish himself. Right now, I think the Raiders in the first half were a little conservative. They weren't throwing the football probably when they should have, but Jeff George knows exactly what he's got to do coming out the second half.
Raiders with 2 timeouts left. First down play for the Falcons. Jamal Anderson. Nothing there again for Jamal Anderson. James Trapp and Mike Morton first to arrive on the scene. Clock now inside a minute 30.
If I was a quarterback right now, I'd be asking Jamal Anderson, are you healthy enough to come out here? Because if you're not, put yourself on the sidelines. It's nothing against him. Every player out there wants to play with some type of injury, with some type of pain. But if you're going to be hurting your football team, it's best to take your butt to the sidelines.
Not only your butt, but the rest of your body too, huh? Inside the final minute. Fake it to Anderson. Chandler completes the pass to the 20-yard line. Bob Christian, well short of the first down, hit hard by Albert Lewis.
Pass is complete to number 44, Bob Christian.
You know, we talked about the pain, Tom, of some of the players coming in. You know, you always want to get out there. Everybody wants to be known as a tough type of player. But when its game is close, you want to be able to come to the sidelines and be able to watch somebody else go out there. And, you know, that was probably one of the hardest things for me as a quarterback to do, was to be able to go out there and say, okay, should I take myself out of the game? The majority of the time, professional athletes are not going to do that. They're going to stay in there because they realize that the players on the sidelines want you to be in the game, even if you are bumped and bruised a little bit. But at times, you're hurting your team.
Your competitive instincts take over, and were there some times where you were woozy but kept yourself in the game and maybe hurt your team? Did you do that?
I remember taking myself out of one particular game. We played in Philadelphia against the Eagles, and I did feel that I was hurting the team. My ankle was blown up the size of a big watermelon, so it was time for me to go to the sidelines. And what happened was Frank Reich came into the ball game. He led our team, and we wound up winning the football game.
Oh, Frank Reich. There's that name again.
Wow, Frank Reich. I haven't heard that since last night, Tom.
Yeah, we usually try to remind Jim of Frank Reich and some of his heroics.
And I used to like hearing about him, too.
3rd and 5. Raiders stopped that clock with the timeout. They have one left. Handoff to Green. Flag down. Green is short of the first down, so the Raiders hoping to get the ball back here. Let's check the penalty marker.
Number 28-year-old Green, the ball carrier, flag at the flag.
Holding number 65, offense. Penalties declined. 4th down.
Roman Fortin with a hold, and of course Oakland will decline the penalty and will get the football back with one timeout left.
It's interesting to see how some coaches go about this, whether they're going to throw the football, have confidence in their quarterback, confidence in their offensive scheme. Right there with 3 timeouts left, I probably would have elected to throw the football, try to get the first down, use some of your timeouts. You have plenty of time left.
Straczynski. Desmond Howard. Fair catch. At about the 29-yard line, a better punt. That one covered 47 yards. Don't forget to stay with us at halftime. We'll go back to New York where Greg Gungle, Joe Gibbs, Chris Collinsworth, and Sam Weitz are standing by with the scores and highlights on the Domino's Pizza NFL on NBC halftime report. And Jeff George is still hearing the boos echoing through his helmet as he comes back onto the field.
And the thing is, as a quarterback, you're going to realize when you're on the road, you're going to get booed. But boy, maybe at the beginning of the football game, but throughout the game.
What about your play call here?
Let me see, you got plenty of time. I don't know. The way they're going offensively, maybe I'd stay a little conservative, maybe a screen pass.
Tim Brown, 11 yards and a first down.
Pass is complete to number 81, Tim Brown.
Hit immediately by Ronnie Bradford. Why wouldn't you send Jet? They don't seem to be able to cover him. Why don't you send Jet down the field again and take a shot?
We can do that right now, but what they're doing is they're sending the guy underneath to bump a little bit the receiver, and they got a guy in the back, so they're not going to let the big play happen. I mean, Raiders probably thought that last week, and look what happened. The guy got behind him, and that was the ball game.
Jeff George throwing the ball to the turf, stopping it with the incompletion with 13 seconds left.
This might be a good time for the Raiders to line up almost in what we call a big bend formation. Line 3 receivers up or 2 receivers to one side. Split it up. Make sure to send everybody down the field. When you have that type of speed, you can do that. Jeff George definitely has the arm to throw the distance to the field right here.
4 receivers, 3 of them bottom of the screen. Tim Brown in the slot. George, Brown wide open center of the field to the 25-yard line. They got it one timeout left, and they use it with 5 seconds remaining. Jeff George connecting on 34 yards to Tim Brown, and it has put them in field goal position for the last play of the half.
And I think he caught the Atlanta Falcons by surprise. They thought Jeff George was going to step up in the pocket and throw a Hail Mary, but what they did wrong is they left the middle of the field wide open, and when you have his receiver like Tim Brown, things like that can happen. There it is, wide open in the middle of the field. Big play. Timeout.
And the one timeout left enabled them to go to the middle of the field. That was available to them because they did have a chance to stop the clock. And so Cole Ford, who is connected on 2 of 3 field goals, his longest being 34, will take the field for the final play of the half. Five seconds left, and the Raiders trying to draw 3 points closer.
Just when you think you have them backed up against the wall and think that they're going to just, take a chance at just a big play down the sideline, boom, now they're in field goal position.
43-yard attempt. Araguz will hold 43 yards for Cole Ford. It will be his longest of the season. Flags down, whistles blow before the play can ever get started.
Full start, number 68, offense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Joe might want to put the mandatory cussing rule in, but that approach has not worked in this game. Penalties have really hurt the Raiders. That is the 6th penalty for 49 yards in the first half, and it makes a 43-yard field goal attempt now a much more difficult 48-yard try.
I don't know if he wants to put the cussing rule in effect right now, because I'm sure Joe Bugle is doing some cussing himself right now.
He doesn't need any help, huh?
That's for sure.
48 yards. Araguz to hold. Ford sends it on its way. And it's good. Clutch kick by Cole Ford as the Raiders end the half with a successful field goal. We'll see if that'll give Joe Bugle's troops a lift. Longest of the season for Cole Ford. It's good. Dan Reeves and the Falcons surrender a field goal on the final play of the half. Not a Greg Gumbel in New York. At the Georgia Dome with the Falcons leading the Raiders 14-10. And of course the Raiders getting a big play to Tim Brown and then the field goal just before halftime. And judging by the reactions of the coaches after Ford hits this field goal, this could turn the momentum in the game.
This is something that Joe Bugle, as you can see how excited he is when the field goal goes through. This is definitely a change of direction for the Raiders, but on the other side, Dan Reeves and the Falcons, they know that this is something they wanted to go in the locker room with some momentum.
It was also the way it came about because they were able to overcome a penalty, which made it a long field goal attempt, and they were able to get in position with a big play to Tim Brown, which had been missing so far in that first half. Here's the second half kickoff. Desmond Howard muffs the football, and it will roll out of the end zone for a touchback. Let's take a look at our Coors Light halftime stats. And notable there is the lack of a rushing game for the Falcons. Total yards in favor of the Raiders after they had been heavily weighted toward the Falcons early. Ditto for time of possession. Look at those penalties, though. 6 for 49 by the Raiders. That has hurt them throughout the first half. Jeff George missed a couple of touchdown opportunities to James Jett. And when you compare him to Chris Chandler, he's hit 50%. Chandler 10 of 18. A few more yards for Chris, and he does have the touchdown pass.
And I think Jeff George got a little bit more confidence when he hit Tim Brown with that big play right before the half.
And the handoff to Napoleon Kaufman on first down. Rips off about 5 yards. It was Kaufman, of course, that had the highlight of the first half, a 61-yard touchdown run for Oakland.
That's pretty much the running game in the first half, but Napoleon Kaufman, he's the type of running back that waits for his blockers. A lot of times, if there's not a hole there, some players, some running backs won't wait for that hole to open up. They'll just put their head down and try to get as many yards as possible. But Kaufman does an excellent job using his linemen.
80 yards rushing, 61 of them on one play. Here he is again, and he stopped in his tracks that time. Fell forward for about a yard. Lester Archambault with run defense that time. Leads the NFL in sacks, but doing a good job on run D that time.
And again, Raiders coming out very conservative. 2 running plays, first and second down. It puts a lot of pressure on your running back and quarterback to make the play at all times. But right there, to shut down that running game the first part of the third quarter.
Archambault grew up in Montville, New Jersey, but Stanford did a great job of recruiting him. Went all the way cross country to Stanford, an excellent student from a family of academicians. Third down pass. George on target, caught by Dudley, and the big tight end who had 2 touchdown catches against the Chiefs takes it to the 40-yard line. First down Raiders. Pass covered 14 yards. Devin Bush and William White finally get the big guy down.
And Ricky Dudley is an excellent tight end. You can see a good route thrown a little bit behind him, but I'll tell you what, when you have a tight end this size, he's almost like your go-to guy in certain situations, especially on first down. At third downs, yes, if you know it's one-on-one. I remember Pete Metzler as being that type of tight end back when he played with the Bills.
First reception for Dudley today. Fenner stumbled as he got the handoff from George. Gains about a yard.
Derek Fenner on the carry.
And going back to Dudley, Joe Bugle was excited about this guy. He knew earlier he had some problems catching the football, but I guess he said that Jeff George has got the confidence in him. He's staying patient. Not only Jeff, but coaching staff too, because they realize what type of potential Ricky Dudley does have. Not just with his size, but with his speed too.
Bugle gave George all the credit. He and Fred Bolitnikoff, who is the receivers coach, the all-time leading receiver for the Raiders.
Jeff George checking off here. He sees something he likes.
Short drop, complete. Tim Brown has the first down across midfield. William White forced him out of bounds. Well, Bolitnikoff, the receivers coach of the Raiders, is the all-time leader, but Tim Brown is breathing down his neck and has a chance to pass him this season. There's Fred Bolitnikoff, the great one. And Tim Brown, who, if he stays healthy, has a good chance to surpass him as the Raiders' all-time leader.
As much as Tim Brown wants the football, he might do it a lot earlier than people think.
First down run. Napoleon Kaufman, nowhere to go. Lost yardage on the play. Hesitated, and then was taken down for a loss. Shane Dronette trapped him in the backfield.
I'm kind of surprised that the Raiders are not throwing the ball more on first down or throwing the ball a little deeper, because if you remember back to the first half, Jet had the defensive backs beat twice. One was overthrown, one was underthrown, and all of a sudden Tim Brown right before the half, the big play. So it's interesting that they're not going after them a little bit more than they have.
Ricky Dudley in motion, lining up as a wide receiver, then coming in motion, and now in a normal tight end spot.
Another check off by George.
They pick up the blitz, and George throws it downfield. Caught. Jet, touchdown. Well, they say Jet's just a speedster, that he doesn't have hands. He puts that to rest with a one-hand snatch, a 51-yard touchdown.
Jeff George again throwing off his back foot, not being able to step up into the football. He's got to realize he's got Jet out there with speed. He's got to beat, just get the football out here. What happens, the defensive back looks back for the football, and Jet stays focused, hauls in a great catch for a touchdown. That was all Jet right there. Underthrown pass, but I'll tell you what, as a quarterback, you'll take it every time.
That and a good job of giving George time by picking up the rush. Here's Ford to add the extra point. And it's good. James Jett finally connecting with Jeff George, and for the first time today, the Raiders have the lead. Of Atlanta, difficult to believe that the Olympics were here just over a year ago. Not too many traces left of the Centennial Olympic Games, and here at the Georgia Dome, where Cole Ford is set to kick off, this was the site, of course, of both basketball and gymnastics. They had a big curtain separating it into two separate arenas. Ford buries the kickoff in the end zone, where Hanspard will down it. And the Atlanta Falcons, finding themselves on the short end of the score for the first time today, will take over at their own 20 when we return to Atlanta.
This play here was designed when Jeff George checked off Napoleon Kaufman coming up, and what he's doing right here, he comes up, he knows who he has to block. The one thing Jeff George is able to do is be able to have time to throw. An excellent block with Cornelius Bennett by Kaufman. Result, excellent catch by Jet. And as you can see, he knows he was lucky to have that one.
That look said it all.
That's for sure.
Now the Falcons try to come from behind. Hanspard Hansbard breaking free down the sideline. Beautiful cutback. Brian Hansbard off to the races. Can they catch him from behind? Yes, at the 3. Eric Turner, Lionel Washington in hot pursuit. And the Falcons, who had been unable to rush the ball successfully all day, break the rookie Hansbard free for 77 yards.
So much for that 25 yards rushing in the first half, but Hansbard, excellent blocking out front, and you can tell by the speed he has, he's able to cut back right here, and then it's just a foot race. He utilizes his blockers right here, Terrence Mathis, and it's just a foot race to the end zone.
Hansbard, third-round choice this season from Texas Tech. Now 6 rushes, 95 yards. And play is stopped. Don't quite know why.
We've got a clock correction. A clock correction.
Thank you very much. So while they correct the clock, Byron Hansbard.
Please set the game clock to 10:05. 10:05. The player never went out of bounds. Thank you.
Hansbard, a Red Raider All-American, the Doak Walker Award winner. One point had 16 consecutive 100-yard rushing games. A licensed Pentecostal minister, second-round pick for the Falcons, and a former Prep All-American from suburban Dallas. First and goal.
This is where the Falcons have had problems earlier, trying to get the ball into the end zone inside the 5.
Play action fake. Chandler's pass to Christian for the touchdown.
We talked about being conservative down there. What happens? Play action pass. Being able to hit Christian not in the flat. I talked about this earlier, having a hot receiver. Sometimes your fullback, a play action pass. And as you can see, the linebacker wasn't able to get out into the flat. Excellent play calling.
Christian with his first touchdown as an Atlanta Falcon. Just like that, the Falcons bounce back to recapture the lead. Impressive. Morton Anderson with the extra point, and it's good. So Jeff George strikes. Chris Chandler answers. Things heating up in Atlanta. Now 21-17 in Atlanta. Falcons might have had a little divine intervention on that scoring drive. First, Hansbard, the licensed minister, goes 77 yards, and then Christian with the touchdown catch.
Very good, Tom. Good job. I like it.
Hansbard, the rookie, making his presence known here. And Anderson with the kickoff. Desmond Howard settles under it and will down it in the end zone. The NFL season extends to the World Wide Web on NFL.com, the league's official website. Visit NFL.com for all the scores and stats, including a complete roundup of this weekend's scores and action, plus chat live with some of the NFL's biggest stars, all at NFL.com. I'm usually a regular visitor to the NFL website every week. We're going to get you in computer literate.
I'm getting there. I just put one in my home about a couple months ago, so it's just better getting to it.
A lot of good information at NFL.com. First down, Raiders, and George is perhaps changing the play. Handoff to Napoleon Kaufman. Tough 3 yards up the middle for Kaufman. Hall is there to make the tackle, along with several of his white-shirted Falcon teammates, including Cornelius Bennett. That Miami-Green Bay game has been close all day, hasn't it? Some close games underway, but Tampa Bay continues to get off to an amazing start, bidding to go 3-0. Your old Bills are leading the Chiefs by 1.
Wow, 77-yarder by Andre. Still's got the wheels.
Second down play for the Raiders. Delayed handoff to Kaufman. Twisted down at the 26 or 27-yard line by Lester Archambault. It'll bring up a third down try for the Raiders.
And again, the Raiders going with the first and second down runs, putting pressure on the receivers and quarterback to make the play on the third down. You think they would go to the air a little bit more, especially with the receivers. I mean, we talked about it, but their big plays have come in the air the majority of the time.
Looking for big plays on third down. They have completed only 2 of 6 third down conversions. George bounces off Dudley. Pretty good defense by Jesse Tuggle.
You see on the right side of your screen, Dudley is running a quick hit, but one thing that he doesn't do, he doesn't go past the first down marker. And on third down, your tight end has to at least go 3 to 4 yards past him, try to get open. What happened there, even if it would have been a completed pass, it would have been 4th down.
Again, the inexperience of Dudley, who's in his 2nd season and played only 2 years of football at Ohio State, primarily a basketball player.
And that's something as a quarterback you always tell the receivers on third down, at least go 3 to 4 yards past the first down marker.
Aragoose pulled down a high snap and boomed one to Kinchin at the 15. Slammed down at the 25-yard line by Folston. 58-yard punt. And if that fumble counts, let's see. No, they say he was down. No fumble, or do they? Well, now, confusion on the field. One official said no. One official said touchdown.
And about 3 or 4 that have no idea.
That was Kenny Shedd that took it in. And now they're going to discuss. Those 2 officials, talking to Jerry Markbright, had different calls on the play. One said no, one said yes. Confusion reigns. .31, the umpire, Chad Brown. 125, the side judge is Laird Hayes.
And Cole Ford's on the field. He thinks that it's a touchdown.
Joe Bugle knows, doesn't he?
Point.
Here's Markbright.
The play is ruled a fumble and a touchdown.
Wow.
Don Hakes, the field judge, his call prevails.
Right here, you see him falling down. Yeah, it's a close call. I don't think the ground could cause a fumble. Boy, Raiders got away with that one.
That is no fumble. The ground cannot cause the fumble. Shedd takes it in for the touchdown, and the Raiders catch a break.
Pretty much all it counts is one official thinking it's a fumble.
Cole Ford for the extra point. And where is instant replay when you need it? Dan Reeves suddenly is in favor of instant replay's return. A gift for Oakland. While we're away, this is Dan Reeves in the face of Don Hakes, the field judge, who made the call that the fumble recovery for a touchdown. Why is he mad? Because it should not have been ruled a fumble.
The ground cannot cause a fumble. And as you stated earlier, Tom, a gift from the men in the stripes.
Here's the kickoff into the end zone and down there. And remember, there was confusion among the officials themselves. One official said the ball was down, emphatically said, "I saw him." And then he is overruled, and the play is a touchdown.
And these are times in a particular part of the football game where this could be a momentum swing. Now it's up to Chris Chandler to pull his team together, establish himself as a leader right now, get the offensive unit together, and move the football.
There is a flag on this play, well back upfield.
Number 45, kicking team. 5-yard penalty and a re-kick.
So they'll re-kick after the offside call on the kickoff. There have been some bizarre calls today. One was a hold against the Raiders on a field goal attempt by Atlanta, which enabled Atlanta to punch it in for a touchdown. You don't often see a hold on a field goal attempt. Not saying it's not possible, not saying it didn't happen, but don't see it very often.
Especially by the defensive team. That's what amazes me.
Dan Reeves, he's not going to settle down for a while, I guarantee you.
I don't think I would either, Tom.
But it's interesting that you say it's time for the quarterback to take charge and regroup his team. And I guess sometimes you can be too emotional about things, can't you?
One thing you don't want to be, you don't want to get too mad at anybody in particular. What you got to do is you got to be able to pull yourself together, make sure your teammates do. Forget about what happened. You can't do anything about it. You got to keep your composure. Go out there, and as a quarterback, that's the way you want to be. You want to be the leader. You want to be the guy to be able to pull everybody together.
Ford's kickoff. Fielded at about the 8-yard line by Harold Green, is back there now. There's another flag upfield. And it could be the Raiders again now.
Would they be kicking this over again? And what happens? This hurts the kicking team because they got to continue to run down the field. This is a big plus for the Falcons.
Suddenly all the focus is on the men in stripes.
Chris Chandler's waving that he wants this thing kicked over again.
Offside, kicking team. 5-yard penalty, re-kick.
Watch the football. Where the football is gone, then you cross the line, then you go down. Timing. Twice in a row, uncalled for.
A lot of empty seats in the Georgia Dome today, but the fans that have turned out have seen a bizarre game, dominated early by the Atlanta Falcons, but the Raiders never out of it. And then in the second half, the big plays heating up, and then to top it all off, controversial fumble ruling that resulted in a Raider touchdown.
At the top of your screen, you can see it's definitely offside. A couple people, probably about 3 or 4 players, all they have to do, very simple, watch the football, watch the kicker kick the ball.
The 2 straight penalties against the Raiders. That's still not going to make Reeves any happier.
It almost looks like this is a safety, kicking from the 20.
59 yards in penalties now against the Raiders, and they are kicking from the 20. This one will go out of bounds. What else can happen? Rusty Tillman, the special teams coach.
First down at the 50-yard line.
Well, you know, if this was a basketball game, I might be talking about makeup calls, but no.
Chris Chandler now has the ball at the 50-yard line, and when you talk about field position, this is where every quarterback would love to
Free kick out of
start.
bounds is 30 yards in advance of the kick. 50-yard line. First down.
First down at midfield for the Falcons.
Good time for Chris Chandler to air one out.
Is that your call?
Well, it would be my call if I was the quarterback, but what Chris Chandler does, we'll see. Little play action pass, maybe.
Fake, play action, Chandler sacked. Rod Fredrickson in his face, untouched.
Remember last week, Chris Chandler had a concussion on something similar to this. But this play is designed to fake out the outside linebacker, and of course Chris Chandler knew there was nobody out in the flat. This play takes time to develop. Just wasn't there from start to finish.
Fredrickson pushing Chandler hard to the turf, and it was his head bouncing off the AstroTurf that caused the concussion a week ago. First sack today for the Raider defense. No special precautions for Chandler other than a little more air pressure in that air suspension helmet. Again, in his face, in the screen pass, he fell over his own man. One of his blockers did, Jamal Anderson. Chandler got hit again back upfield as Anderson fell over Anton Davis, who was trying to block. Things unraveling on 2 plays for the Falcons.
That's the only thing bad about a screen pass. Quarterbacks at times will take a beat because what the offensive line is supposed to do, they're supposed to release the defensive lineman to the quarterback, enabling them to be enough room for the completion.
McLaughlin knocked Chandler down after he had delivered the ball.
A little acting by Chris Chandler.
3-point game, but 3rd and long for the Falcons. Protection this time, plenty of it. And the pass caught. Tremendous catch. Haynes took the ball away. Unbelievable catch that time by Michael Haynes.
That was an excellent catch. Chris Chandler forces this ball in there, but it's the receiver coming back to the football that makes this play, plus the offensive line giving Chandler enough time to step up inside the pocket and make the completion.
21 yards as Haynes with a sparkling reception at the expense of James Trapp.
And James Trapp had great coverage on that, and I think that he was kind of surprised Chandler threw the football too.
So Atlanta with a big play on 3rd down, and their drive still in progress. Chandler rolling for some protection and throwing an interception that's dropped by Beekert. Beekert had it in his hands, dropped it. I don't know why Chandler left the pocket to start with. It looked to me like the protection was good.
And that's what he has to do. You have to be able to sit in there. But once he did get outside the pocket, all he has to do is throw the ball out of bounds. Throw the ball 10 yards out of bounds as long as it goes past the line of scrimmage. I think he just tries to make something happen getting outside the pocket.
Beekert had a certain interception here.
It almost looks like he was the intended receiver on this particular play, but defensively, you have to make that catch.
That's why he's a linebacker and not a tight end.
Chris Chandler checking off also.
Blitz, they got him. Back to midfield. The Raiders come, Beekert and Morton, the linebackers, and they're all over Chris Chandler.
The sack by number 54, Greg Beekert.
They feel the way to get to Chris Chandler is not just by the front 4 guys. They're going to have to start sending more guys. You can see on your screen, both linebackers blitzing right up the middle, putting the pressure on Chandler. Right here you see Beekert. He doesn't come right off the block. This here, it was set up by the nose tackle. Offensive line falling apart right now. Pressure continuing to happen and being put on by the defensive line of the LA Raiders.
And Fred Whittingham, the defensive coordinator of the Raiders, has them all over Chris Chandler here. Sacked for the 2nd time. Timeout taken by Atlanta at the 5:01 mark of the 3rd. Three-point game in Atlanta while we're away. Art Shell, one of the best offensive linemen in NFL history, and now the Falcons offensive line coach, trying to rally his troops. He, of course, was the head coach of the Raiders from '89 through '94. And on this series, the offensive line of the Falcons has allowed 2 sacks. The Raiders only 2 sacks of the game.
Remember, the Falcons don't have to necessarily go for the first down. Just get inside the 40-yard line because Morton Anderson's leg is good enough to make it from 50, 55 yards away.
Chandler again running for his life. Completes it to Haynes, who rolls out of bounds at the 34-yard line. He is short of the first down, covered by Perry Carter. 12-yard completed pass.
That's what we talked about. We talked about getting inside the 40-yard line for Morton Anderson. I'm sure he's happy about this. I mean, he don't want to have to come out and try that long 50, 52-yard field goal. So this is definitely within his range.
It will be a 52-yard attempt. Officially 51. 51-yard attempt by Morton Anderson to tie the game. From 51 yards, Anderson sends it. Good! Tied at 24. Tom Hammond, Jim Kelly in Atlanta. Now tied at 24 after Morton Anderson, one of the greatest kickers of all time, connects from 51 yards, his longest of the season.
I'll tell you what, Tom, and at times you look at special teams coach and what you want to do as a quarterback, you realize how close you can get when you have confidence in your kicker. I remember Scott Norwood, Steve Christie, knowing how far I had to get and able to be in their range to be able to kick it. With Morton Anderson, I think he's made a kick of close to 60 yards, if not 60 yards before, so he's definitely got the leg.
Anderson had enough leg for that 51-yarder to tie the game after the Raiders had presented the ball to Atlanta at midfield after 3 successive penalties on the kickoff.
And that's Anderson's 32nd 50-plus yard field goal. That's impressive.
Short kickoff, though. Desmond Howard. This is why they inquired Desmond Howard. Crockett finally knocks him out. But a short kick by Anderson, and then a 36-yard Desmond Howard return. Former Super Bowl MVP. Came over from the Packers.
Desmond Howard, he wanted the opportunity to bring one out every time Morton Anderson has put it into the end zone, and did give him a shot to be able to make that run. And again, Desmond Howard finally getting his hands on the football.
Here's Morton Anderson. He knows that he didn't do his job. He did it on the field goal, but then on the kickoff, did not get it to the end zone. And the Super Bowl 31 MVP a little shaken up on that nice return.
First time he's been hit, I think, today.
That's right. He hadn't had a chance to return, and Jerron Bolden is the injured Falcon player.
Maybe Desmond Howard a little stiff.
Well, NBC Premiere Week is just a week away, with 5 nights of all-new must-see comedy headed your way, plus ER premieres with a live broadcast. That'll be interesting. Don't miss a minute of it. Premiere Week starting September 22nd on NBC.
Seinfeld's a show I don't usually miss too often. Kramer is one of my favorites.
And I want to see that live episode of ER. I don't know if it's at the hospital or what, but a live dramatic show. That's a throwback to the old days when virtually all of television was live back in the 50s, early 60s.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how they react to some of the mistakes that they probably will make when you do something live. But ER, an excellent show.
Desmond Howard and Jerron Bolden continue to be tended to. Big smile from Desmond, so he apparently is okay. Bolden still down.
You never would like to see a player laying down the field for that long, because you don't know exactly what the injury is.
Jeff George off to a rocky start on his return to the Georgia Dome. He was 0 for his first 3. Did finish up the half at 50% and over 100 yards. And in the second half has been on target all but once, including the touchdown pass.
We have some excellent field position right now, so one thing that we keep on talking about is the Raiders being conservative on first and second down and put so much pressure on Jeff George.
Being awfully careful with Bolden on the field, the injured Atlanta player.
You see him moving his legs, and that's a big plus, his hands and his legs. But again, you got to be very, very concerned.
Drawn in his second season from Mississippi Delta College, 4th-round draft choice last year. One of the special team aces for the Falcons.
If you look at the upper left-hand side of your screen right here, you see the hit. He puts his head down, something you try not to do, but I think you saw both players coming at him. And he wanted to be able to stand in there and maybe not have quite the impact that he thought he might have. But again, a big plus. He was moving his legs and arms.
Paramedics on the scene. And Reeves showing his concern.
Everybody's standing there looking and praying that everything will be all right. Even Raiders. I mean, it doesn't matter what team you play on. When an injury like this happens and they're still laying on the football field, you think nothing but positive things. You say your prayers and hope everything's all right. You never wish injury upon anybody.
They have put the backboard, the rigid board, beneath Jerron Bolden. Try to immobilize him when anytime they have potential injuries of this nature.
Also on Z93, tune in to the Monday Night Replay program with running back Jamal Anderson.
Most stadiums do have the facility here to take x-rays. I'm sure in a new dome like this, they probably can just take them in there and have them x-rayed inside to make sure that there's nothing seriously wrong with it. This is where both sides of the field have to stay loose. When you're standing around this much, receivers got to stay loose, defensive backs got to stay loose, and the linemen's got to start concentrating. It's a good time for Jeff George to think of a couple different plays, maybe the offensive scheme, what they need to do to be able to move the football. Maybe think about throwing it a little bit more on first down.
And there you see how they have immobilized Bolden to take him from the field. And Dan Reeves over showing his concern. You might have noticed he took those papers he had in his hand and tapped Jerron on the helmet. A word of encouragement from his coach, whose concern is etched on his face. And a little smile now as tries to return his thoughts to the game, but it has to be pretty difficult at this point.
Especially for Bolden, because last year put on IR with an injury, and I'm sure everybody hopes he'll be able to come back and continue and play, because that's why you're in the game, to want to go out there each and every week and be a competitor. Our prayers go out to him and his family. Hope everything's all right.
As a player, is it a little tough to regain your enthusiasm and your fire here?
No, not really, because one thing, you were able to see him moving some body parts, which is a big plus. But one thing, you're going to see this throughout your career. You're not going to just see this once or twice. It's going to happen on a lot of occasions. You get used to it, but you don't want to see anything seriously happen to anybody.
Tie game, 3:57 left in the third. First down play for the Raiders from their own 42. Napoleon Kaufman gets the corner. Brown with a block. Kaufman down the sideline to the 10 and a touchdown.
What a move by Kaufman. He showed his speed there down the sideline. At least 3 Atlanta Falcons players had, this is speed. This is what you call speed coming down. They had the angle on Kaufman down the sidelines, and he just turned on the afterburners.
A dazzling move by Napoleon Kaufman to break free. 58-yard touchdown gallop. In the first half, he had a 61-yard scoring run.
He could have been stopped at the line of scrimmage, but an excellent move to get outside. And as you saw, unbelievable speed. I thought for sure he's at least going to be tackled on 35, around the 35-yard line.
Cole Ford for the extra point. One wonders if Atlanta, after the injury to Bolden, were not quite emotionally ready to return to play, because Kaufman went 58 yards. Watch this move.
This move's been put on David Brandon right here. Boom! Able to get outside. And I got a little excited here, Tom. I was like, there's no way. Look at the angle that the players had on him, and he's able to outrun him to the end zone.
2 long touchdown runs by Napoleon Kaufman today, who now has gained 142 yards for the game.
Well, he turns the corner right here, and I think he realized it's just turning on the afterburners and trying to outrun him to the end zone.
Even the speedy Ray Buchanan unable to catch up to Napoleon Kaufman.
Jeff George excited about that one. I don't know if I'd be, I guess I'd tap offensive lineman too, but that was all Napoleon Kaufman right there. But as a quarterback, boy, those plays, that's what you like to see, the long runs. And I'm sure Jeff George is jumping saying, get into the end zone, get into the end zone.
61 yards, 58 yards, 2 long scoring runs for Napoleon Kaufman. So now the pressure back on Chris Chandler. Can he answer the Raiders score as Oakland recaptures the lead in what has been a wild and woolly third quarter? Here's Ford's kick. Deep into the end zone. Hansbard will down it there. Well, Jeff George in his homecoming in Atlanta. Well, a point to the stands. He has about 100 tickets. I don't know if he's pointing to his family or perhaps towards some of those fans who have been booing him all afternoon.
If I was a betting man, I'd probably say he's pointing to his family. What do you think, Tom?
I don't know. Last week we saw Jim Everett with a glance at Mike Ditka as he had revenge in his return to New Orleans, and I'm sure Jeff George has a little satisfaction as his team takes the lead. There's still a lot of time remaining. 3:39 in the third quarter. Santiago in motion. Hands-barred. Stutter step as a flag falls. He's to the 26-yard line. Pretty nice first down run by the rookie if it stands.
Holding number 83, offense. 10-yard penalty, first down.
That's Ed West, guilty of the third penalty of the day against Reeves Falcons.
One thing I've been noticing about the Atlanta Falcons running game is once the handoff is made, the back is having to make his move 3 to 4 yards in the backfield. A lot of times you'd like to make that move once you get through the line of scrimmage, but a lot of times today they're relying on the speed of the running back to get to the outside.
Now spot the ball at the Atlanta 10. It's 1st and 20. Chandler's in trouble. Screen pass complete. Hands-barred. A couple of nice moves and a block downfield. He's across the 30, and he might have the first down. Another big play by rookie Byron Hanspard, tackled by Eric Turner after a gain of 21.
That was made by Chris Chandler getting away from the center. He's feeling more comfortable with the center quarterback exchange, being able to draw the defensive line there and having confidence in his running back to be able to get out there and have that little seam where he can catch and dump the football.
Hanspard has been by far the most effective running back, running and receiving today for the Falcons. The rookie's found a spot in the offense on the sideline now, replaced by Jamal Anderson. He's in the backfield with Christian. Chandler's pass complete. Another first down, this time O.J. Santiago, but Chandler pays the price. It does draw a flag.
Chandler's down too.
There are actually 2 flags on the play.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 96, defense. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Darrell Russell roughing the passer.
Right here, see Chandler coming back. You realize he has man-to-man coverage as seen right there. And this is a late hit. That's uncalled for right there.
Last week, Chandler suffered a mild concussion. This is the play. Watch his head bounce off the AstroTurf as he's taken down here. And he said the primary problem at this time was that he lost his balance. And he is down again. Chandler, Billy Joe Tolliver is his backup. Tolliver was not very effective in his relief of Chandler last week. 7 of 17.
One thing, Billy Joe coming in there, I know when you're sitting there as a coach, talking to our offensive coordinator in the past, one thing they don't want to back up to do is go in there and think that they have to win a football game if you're down. Go in there, don't make that crucial mistake. Don't have a big turnover.
Of course, concussions are very much the focus around the National Football League in recent weeks. Steve Young comes to mind immediately, and this is something you have to be awfully careful with. And he had a mild concussion a week ago and back on the field today. Here's the rookie Russell, who with an obvious late hit.
It doesn't really look like it might be concussion because, again, his head did not even hit the ground, so this might be something other than a concussion that we talked about. And I know, Tom, that was something that ended my career. I left the Jacksonville game in Buffalo, the playoff game last year, and that was the last time I saw the football field.
The rookie Russell with the penalty, and penalties have been a huge ally of the Falcons in this game today, as the Raiders, returning to their form historically, have been penalized 9 times for 74 yards. We're not even through the third quarter.
Well, as you can see, Chris Chandler is in pain. Still don't know what it is. Well, it doesn't look good, though.
And you hate to see this on a late hit. That is just something that should not be tolerated. And Russell guilty of the late hit on Chandler. Billy Joe Tolliver, in his 7th season from Texas Tech, will take over. You saw that 7 of 17 performance relieving Chandler a week ago. Did not play all last season. He's been with San Diego, with Atlanta earlier, with Houston in the CFL, in his 2nd year back in Atlanta. And wow, Chandler is really hurting.
He keeps holding the right side of his ribs right there. And you never want to speculate on an injury, but I'll tell you what, when a player's in that much pain, he can't walk, the ribs might be an issue, but again, you don't want to speculate and say exactly what it is when you don't know.
Well, we saw before the Raider touchdown, Jerron Bolden taken from the field. The report is he has a back injury, has been taken for x-rays. Now Chris Chandler has gone down.
And you do realize that injuries are part of football. It's a very aggressive sport. But when it comes that way, when it comes with late hits, that's when you have to start wondering what the other guy's thinking about.
Paramedics have been, unfortunately, busy today.
So have those golf carts. Sure, Chris Chandler would rather be on a golf cart out on a golf course instead of coming out on one on a football field.
Chandler is in so much pain, he's having trouble sitting on the cart. Second major injury to the Falcons. 6 hurries, 5 knockdowns, the 2 sacks. And as we said to open the program, Chandler has been taking a beating primarily because of inept offensive line play.
But the offensive line today has been doing a half-decent job. They've been doing all right. There's nothing you can do when it's a late hit, though.
Yeah, this was a late hit. He was on the verge of passing 200 yards through the air.
Having a super day.
A study in pain is Chris Chandler.
All too familiar look on his face right there, the look of pain.
Throughout his career, really. So now Billy Joe Tolliver is at quarterback. As a result of the penalty, the ball's at the Raider 42. First down, Atlanta. Nice cut up by Byron Hanspard again. Byron Hanspard again has been the running back star for the Falcons. Darrell Russell, who was whistled for the late hit, makes the tackle on Hanspard. Hanspard now with 4 carries, 84 yards.
And knowing Billy Joe, the strength of his arm, I mean, in high school we talked about 92-mile-an-hour fastball, so he has the arm to get the ball to the outside receivers, and I know they do have confidence in him talking to the coaches if anything did happen to Chandler.
Tolliver's pass too tall for a wide open Emmanuel. Tolliver did have 14 no-hitters. It was actually Ed West, the intended receiver. Did have 14 no-hitters in his high school days in Texas. Native of Boyd County High School in Texas.
And I'm sure the people in Boyd, Texas appreciate that, Tom.
Has them to a state championship, Boyd County. 4 of 11 only on 3rd down for Atlanta today. This is 3rd and 4.
I expect some pressure from the Raiders with a little blitz.
There it is. Tolliver down. Chester McLaughlin first to arrive on the scene. It'll be 4th down.
Here you see Billy Joe dropping back and sitting in the pocket. You have to almost credit this and at times for defensive back coverage, but right there, just pressure coming up the middle in their style of offense. You have to have room to step up inside the pocket, but not there.
So the 3rd sack of the day for the Raider defense forces a 4th down punt to Desmond Howard. Straczynski's boot. Fair catch called by Howard at the 17-yard line. So the much maligned Raider defense holding, and they've really stepped up the pressure here in recent series, putting the pressure on the quarterbacks of the Falcons. That punt covered, 27 yards with no return, 54 seconds left, third quarter.
That's why it's so important, even this year, of backup quarterbacks, what it means to teams now. Teams are now going out and looking for that quality backup quarterback, and now Billy Joe Tolliver has taken it upon himself to be able to try to lead this Falcon team.
The word on Chandler is a bruised sternum. He's been taken for x-ray. Kaufman dancing in the backfield, trapped for a loss. Good penetration by Travis Hall to make the play.
Number 26, Napoleon Kaufman, stopped behind the line by number 98.
Hall couldn't get started that time, or Hall wouldn't let Kaufman get started. Kaufman, remember, has had those 2 long touchdown runs, but really had no chance to get started because Hall was 3 or 4 yards in the backfield.
That's what you try to do as a defensive team. Try to force the running back to have to make his decision between 3 or 4 yards in the backfield.
Less than 20 seconds in the third. George changes the play. Plenty of time on the play clock. And now the flags are down. And a scuffle breaks out. Jeff George in the middle of it. Chuck Smith was there too. They're the former teammates.
And the last time Jeff George checked off, it was a touchdown, and I looked down there and I saw what he saw. 1-on-1 on the outside. Speed against a DB that they feel they can beat. I'd take that too, Tom.
Now Jerry Markwright again is trying to sort things out. George arguing his case.
I don't think I've ever seen Markwright without a hat on.
Prior to the snap, number 77, false start, offense, 5-yard penalty, second down.
That's Pat Harlow. As George was changing the play, there you see the flinch by Harlow. And Smith unabated to George, and that should not be allowed to. Harlow defending him took a shot at Chuck Smith. And the third quarter will come to a close before they can run the play. That's the end of the third quarter in Atlanta, with Jeff George on his return, and the Raiders leading the Falcons 31-24. We'll be back after these messages from your local station, the NFL on NBC. Back in Atlanta, you know the new rule in the NFL this season, you can't take off your headgear, it's a penalty. Oh, Jerry Markwright, that's a penalty. He took off his headgear. Back to football, first play, fourth quarter, Jeff George pumps once, he's trapped, and he's down at the 2-yard line. Travis Hall again is all over Jeff George, and the Falcons have their third sack of the day. Travis Hall has 2 of the 3.
Again, putting pressure on, making a little stunt there, coming up inside the middle, but he stays with them. One thing you don't want to do as a defensive lineman, stay on the ground. If you get knocked down, get back up.
2 sacks today for Travis Hall. And third total for the Atlanta defense. Third down and 25. George will pass from his own end zone. Screen play, Kaufman to the 10. All the way out to the 18-yard line, but not enough for the first down. There is a penalty marker. McGill and Bush chasing down Kaufman, who, if nothing else, gave his punter some room.
There was no defensive holding foul on the play. There was no foul.
So they pick up the flag, and it will be a punting situation for the Raiders. Al Davis has suffered through a mistake-marred game, but has seen his team finally take the lead thanks to a gift call on a fumble that should not have been called. Shedd returned it for a touchdown.
He's happy now, but one thing that, you're talking to Joe Bugle, he's trying to instill into his players, you have to play 60 minutes of football. A lot of times they find themselves last couple minutes of the game almost like the NBA, just watching in the last 2 minutes. You can't do that. You got to play 60 minutes of football.
They lost in overtime to Tennessee to open the season, and then that collapse that saw Kansas City win in the last 3 seconds on Monday night. Aragoose punting to Kinchin, dodged the first man, and then advances to the 35-yard line where he's taken down. It was a 54-yard punt, 8 yards on the return. Timeout in Atlanta, 31-24 Raiders. Tom Hammond, Jim Kelly at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta, 31-24 game. After a third quarter that took nearly an hour to play with 2 serious injuries to Bolden and Chandler of the Falcons. And with Chandler down, it means Billy Joe Tolliver is under center. Pitch to Jamal Anderson. Anderson cuts up the field. Tough 3 yards. Now let's go to New York and check in with Greg Gumbel. Greg?
All right, Tom, in Kansas City, probably the last guy in the NFL you want to kick to on the kickoff is Tamarick Vanover, but that's what the Buffalo Bills did, and he made him pay. From his own 6, 94 of the quickest yards of the day, the 4th time in his career he's returned to kickoff for a touchdown. Buffalo has kicked a field goal. They are tied early in the 4th quarter at 16. Tom?
All right, Greg, and here in Atlanta, it's 31-24, Oakland leading the Falcons. Atlanta football, 2nd down. Billy Joe Tolliver got away from the rush, winds up, heaves downfield for Emmanuel, and that'll be another penalty. Will it? No. Uncatchable ball.
They're coming after Billy Joe too. They're sending everybody. They realize it's 1-on-1 on the outside. They're going to take some chances, but Billy Joe shows the strength of his arm, being able to throw that ball that far downfield. There you see the pressure. What happens is the defensive back does not look back. It's just a matter of legs getting tangled up.
Biekert has been in the face of the Atlanta quarterbacks all afternoon. That time he gave Tolliver a shot as he delivered the ball. And Atlanta has taken a timeout as Tolliver has missed on his first 2 pass attempts since replacing Chris Chandler.
And I know Billy Joe pretty well, and sometimes just looking at that hit, that might be something that Billy Joe need a little whack upside his head to wake him up a little bit. And now Billy Joe can establish himself, or at least try to establish himself as a quality backup. Like I stated earlier, Tom, this is something in the National Football League. More coaches are going after that quality backup quarterback because so many quarterbacks are going down with injuries nowadays.
There just aren't that many quality backup quarterbacks. That seems to be the problem.
Exactly.
So Atlanta taking its first timeout of the second half. Its second timeout, excuse me. So they only have 1 timeout left. Atlanta down to its final timeout here early in the 4th quarter. Pretty even second half so far. The difference being the fumble return for a touchdown. Kaufman had the 58-yard gallop for the score for Oakland.
If you really look at it, Tom, not a lot of long, sustaining drives, a lot of big plays in this football game today.
Falcons looking for one here on 3rd down. 4 wide receiver set. Mathis the motion man. Tolliver, good protection. Pass caught. First down, Mathis. Back upfield. I believe there's a penalty flag. There is. And an injured Falcon player.
Billy Joe stayed in the pocket. He showed his composure.
There's no holding foul on the play. There's no foul.
Pick up the flag again. But meanwhile, an injured Falcon player.
Here's the play. What Billy Joe does, he sees the heat coming up the middle, but what he does, he moves a little bit to his right. He stays in the pocket. He had confidence in his offensive line and the running back that they were going to pick up that stunt. Excellent job by Billy Joe staying with him.
Gene Williams, number 69, the right guard of the Falcons, able to regain his feet and walk from the field. is a first down play for Reeves Falcons. Spot the football now at the 47-yard line of the Raiders. Oakland up by 7. Inside 13 minutes remaining in the game from Atlanta. First down, Falcons. First down pass from Tolliver. Manages to get the ball away as he was being twisted down. Avoided the sack from Johnstone, who calls for the intentional grounding.
That was close. I don't know. I think the referee, Mark Bright, was looking to throw a flag, but again, he tried to look and see what was happening. Billy Joe able to step up inside the pocket, but again, he sees the receiver right there. He wasn't able to get everything on the football, so again, no intentional grounding.
With Williams out at right guard, Calvin Collins, the rookie from Texas A&M, has replaced him. Blitz coming. Hand off to Anderson. To the line of scrimmage and nothing more. I believe I would stick with Byron Hanspard at running back. He has done a much better job than Anderson today.
And there's nothing against Anderson, but when you're not healthy, you're not 100%, it's tough to get to the position that you want to be, being able to get to the outside. So far today, that's their style of offense, being able to come up, make that break 2 to 3 yards in the backfield and get outside.
Averaging 3-1 today. There's Hanspard, the rookie. 4 wide receiver set now. Mathis, Kinchin, Emmanuel, and Haynes. Tolliver with time. Mathis has it. First down, Atlanta. To the 34-yard line. Turner and Trapp hit him there, but that one covers 12. And a clutch third down conversion by Tolliver and Mathis.
Terrence Mathis takes a pretty good hit here. But again, Billy Joe Tolliver being able to have the time to throw the football, the big key. Puts it right there. They knew exactly where the first down was, but excellent job by the front 5 guys.
It's become obvious, hasn't it, as Mathis gathers in his 4th, that whether it's Chandler or Tolliver, it's the offensive line. If they give them time, they're able to click. First down, Tolliver chased from the pocket, finds an outlet, Harold Green. Green stopped for a loss by Rob Fredrickson.
Even though it wasn't much of a gain on that particular play to throw him on first down, this is something that Chris Chandler talked to us about coming into this game, being able to mix it up a little bit more.
Gene Williams has returned to his right guard spot as Tolliver has missed only once on this drive.
But Billy Joe's a tough quarterback. He's going to sit in the pocket. Even if he does feel the pressure, he'll sit there and maybe take that extra second to deliver the pass, because that's how tough he is and what his offensive line thinks of him.
And with Williams back, it's starting offensive line on the field. Blitz comes. Tolliver reads it and delivers to Emmanuel. First down inside the 20-yard line. Good job by Tolliver then to read the blitz and find the hot receiver for 17 yards.
And you hit it right on the head, Tom. Excellent read by Tolliver. Knowing who his wide receiver is that's running the hot read. An excellent pickup by Anderson on the blitz.
Emmanuel with the inside release. Fumbled the football and got it back. Jamal Anderson, who hasn't had much success running the ball, did make a very nice pickup block to enable that completion. He's carried 7 times for 23 yards, but a good job blocking. Tolliver for the end zone. Still no call. Now incomplete out of the end zone was Michael Haynes.
That was a great catch and almost trying to get his feet in, but what happened there? Billy Joe just a little bit late throwing the football, a little bit too much air under the ball. He had to beat. What he has to do is throw this more on a line, drop it over the shoulders.
Couldn't quite see his feet as they came down. Let's watch it from this angle.
So Billy Joe putting a lot of air under the football, maybe a little bit sooner, but we'll see if it's a catch.
Possession, nope. Good call. Nice call, no catch.
Excellent attempt to try to keep your feet in.
2nd and 10. Draw play, Anderson picking his way, finding a seam, and advancing inside the 15-yard line before he's dropped by several members of the Oakland defensive unit, including Eric Turner from the free safety spot. Chester McLaughlin got a piece of it too.
And Christian's a little banged up. He's limping coming off the field.
Bob Christian taking it to the sideline.
When you run this, I'm sorry, Tom. When you run this game, you like to have your tough quality fullback in the game, especially when you're going and pounding it right up the middle.
Brian Kozlowski has replaced him in the backfield, a sometime tight end. Tolliver, across the middle, complete to the 5-yard line, O.J. Santiago.
This is an excellent design play set up by Billy Joe Tolliver, looking the linebacker off, and O.J. Santiago being able to delay and then come across the middle. If you look right here on the right side of your screen, O.J. Santiago, what he does is he pretends like he's going to block. He waits for the linebacker to come out, and boom, right down the middle. He waits for the linebacker to slide out.
Tolliver really clicking now on this drive, finding his rhythm, and he has a 1st and goal at the 5. The timeout taken by the Raider defense. Tolliver and the Falcons hoping to punch it in and tie the game. The Falcons train has been rolling toward the Raider goal line. They need a score and an extra point to tie the game. This will be the 9th play of the drive, engineered by Tolliver, who's missed only once. Kozlowski and Anderson in the backfield. 1st and goal from the 5. Anderson tapped for a loss. Penetration, Russell Maryland and other members of the front of the Raiders. Along with Anthony Smith, Rob Fredrickson was there too. Nothing doing on the ground.
It almost looked like somebody missed an assignment there, because right before the snap of the football, center Roman Fortin was idolizing or looking towards the left side of the ball, pointing somebody out. It almost looked like it was a busted play up inside.
2nd and goal, the ball now back to the 6. Tolliver with the fake. Touchdown, Mathis. Billy Joe Tolliver hits Terrence Mathis for the 6-yard touchdown. And Jim, once again, a crucial block by Jamal Anderson to enable Tolliver to get it away.
One thing about this play is you know it's going to be man-to-man. Anytime a team's going to blitz, you know that the receivers are going to be one-on-one on the outside. And Billy Joe showed his fastball there.
Anderson's extra point has tied the game. Billy Joe Tolliver directs a tying drive to clincher the pass to Mathis. And with 7:17 left, it's 31 all, much to the chagrin of Al Davis.
We're very critical of number 32, Jamal Anderson, his running ability, but what happens is he's able to pick up the blitzing guy on the outside here, even sustaining the block for just a hair of a second right there. The one thing about Jamal Anderson, he's been the key to 2 big plays, 2 touchdowns for the Atlanta Falcons.
With his blocking, not full speed in his running, his blocking though has been excellent.
And that's what counts.
Morton Anderson's kickoff, 1 yard deep, Desmond Howard. Howard saw daylight for a moment. There's a flag down, but Howard is not yet down. Breaks to the sideline, tight roping and finally out of bounds. It will be against Oakland. You can bring it back. It was 47.
Illegal block, number 83. Half the distance to the goal, 1st down.
Ricky Dudley's number 83. Here's our Miller Beer game summary. 31-31 game. Napoleon Kaufman, 2 long touchdown runs, 61 and 58 yards. Billy Joe Tolliver replacing the injured Chris Chandler, directing that long drive. The last one covered 65 yards, and look at the disparity in the time of possession. Penalties again have been critical to the Raiders' lack of success at times.
And now the fans are getting into it right now.
Starting from the 8. George, wide open. Dudley, the tight end, got away from another man. Dudley to the 40, rambling to the 30, cuts back, a stiff arm hands into the 15. Another huge play, 77 yards to the tight end, Ricky Dudley, galloping like a young colt downfield.
When Jeff George threw that all arm, didn't have really the room to step up and step into his football. That was all arm strength by Jeff George, and of course, him talking how much he'd like to throw the ball to Dudley and the confidence that he's getting in him.
First down, Raiders, 16 of the Falcons. Kaufman, little hesitation step, but takes it only to the 15, a gain of 2. William White up from the strong safety to stop Napoleon.
Oh, Tom, when you get them down like that, utilize those 2 receivers out there, and Dudley, a tight end. This is the area where I know when I was playing as a quarterback, I'd like to use my tight end a little bit more because you know he's almost always going to be isolated with a linebacker covering him.
What about the speed and agility, though, of Ricky Dudley as he evaded the first tackler and then outran a couple of members of the secondary before White with the angle was able to catch up with him.
And you look at his size, 6'6", almost 260 pounds, and being able to run like that, that's a quarterback's dream.
Timeout Raiders with 5:21 left in the game. Well, we talked about the Raiders losing 2 close games, and the Falcons have not been able to sustain leads. So mirror images in that department anyway. Week 1 at Detroit, they led 17-14 and lost 28-17. And against Carolina in the battle of field goals, lost by 3.
Again, Tom, most times in the National Football League, teams are pretty much getting close to being equal nowadays. Yeah, of course you have your teams that are a little bit above, that maybe that next level up, but the great teams, the good teams, win the game in the 4th quarter.
Al Locasal on the left and Al Davis have seen them suffer some painful losses. 0-4, decided by 7 points or less. Ball just inside the Falcon 15-yard line. Second down, 8. Hoffman, wide receiver, bottom of the screen. Brown in motion on the reverse. And Brown gets a short gain, 2 or 3 yards in the round, I guess, with Jesse Tuggle making the stop. They had Kaufman wide to the bottom of the screen. Brown in the slot, went in motion and got the toss from George.
I like the thought process here. Mix it up a little bit, do something different. And when you get a guy like Tim Brown with his running ability, why not? Take the chance of the reverse for the big play.
Inside the 5-minute mark. Tie game. Raiders looking to take the lead. 3rd and 6 in a 31-31 game. George takes from the pocket. Throws incomplete. Tim Brown, the intended receiver. Ray Buchanan had him covered pretty well. So now on 4th down, Ford, after the defensive heroics by Buchanan, is forced to attempt the field goal.
A good job by Jeff George, not trying to force it in there. He threw it where only Tim Brown could catch the football, knowing that he is in field goal range with the score being tied at 31.
Ford has hit his previous field goal attempt. 49-yarder just before halftime. This one, 31 yards to give Oakland the lead. On its way, and good. Joe Bugle and the Raiders, looking for their first win of the season, go up by 3. Tom Hammond, Jim Kelly from Atlanta. The Raiders, on a Ford field goal, had just taken the lead, 34-31, 4:24 left in the game. Ford will kick it off, and the deep men, Hanspard and Green for Atlanta. Hanspard downs it in the end zone. Well, it was the big pass to Ricky Dudley that set up the go-ahead field goal by Oakland.
What happens here, you have your defensive backs right here, both playing zone back through there. And what you have to do is you look at Ricky Dudley right here. He's coming upfield. He reads the zone right here. And what happens by just looking at this type of coverage, it's almost like a missed assignment, because somebody has to be able to guard the deep third. I think a big mistake by the Falcons defense.
They could only get 3 points out of it, though, but Dudley's big play set it up. And now the question is, can the Raiders hold a lead? That's been a problem. A mess up there between the center and quarterback, Fortin and Tolliver. Tolliver had already begun to backpedal out to set up, and the ball was not there yet.
I think he saw the Raiders coming at him, and he wanted to get out there as soon as possible.
Prior to the snap, false start, number 88 offense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Now it becomes, he called Santiago's number, by the way, but it wasn't Santiago's fault. Now it becomes a very big problem. You're in the hole now, 1st and 15 from your own 15-yard line, trying to play catch-up, down 3, and just over 4 minutes left.
And don't think you have to make it all up here. Just try to get 5, 6, 7, 8 yards. Try to at least be second in mid-range.
Tolliver, ball loose. And the Falcons recover at the 1-yard line. Gene Williams able to recover the football at the 1 as they knocked it loose from Billy Joe Tolliver.
Again, Billy Joe's stepping back into the pocket, but he's got pressure right up the middle from start. It's a mad scramble for the football. Excellent job by Gene Williams popping on that, because this could be almost the one that puts a nail in the coffin if the Raiders are able to recover this football. Anthony
Smith just beat his man there as they had more numbers than the Falcons could block. Now from the 1, Tolliver will pass from his own end zone, and he airs it out downfield, way off target. And now it will be 3rd and long. Tolliver will again have to pass from his own end zone. George Sefcik, offensive coordinator. Dan Reeves sending in the play, and a tough call here. You can bet that the Raiders will be coming.
Boy, when you need the offensive line to step up, that's when you needed it back then, the last play. But right now, you just have to get some yardage back. Don't try to force the ball in here and cause a turnover. Just try to get some room for the punter. There's plenty of time left.
7 of 15 on 3rd down conversions. This, though, is a 3rd and 29. Tolliver, if he steps out of the end zone, it's a safety, and he does.
You don't want to step out of the end zone. Now that forces the Atlanta Falcons to score a touchdown. Here's a view from the end zone, and what you want to do, this is designed to be a roll-out pass, but what Billy Joe's got to understand is, once he's outside the pocket, all he has to do is throw the ball past the line of scrimmage, out of bounds, let the punter come in, punt the football away.
What could he have been thinking of here? Does he not know the rule? What could he be thinking of? He stepped out of bounds and wasn't even touched before he stepped out. Yes, they were all over him, but he just stepped out of the back of the end zone. 2 points for the Raiders, and now a free kick by Atlanta.
It almost looked like he didn't know where he was on the football field. He nonchalantly just stepped out of the end zone, and not a very smart move by Billy Joe, and uncharacteristic of something that he would do. I mean, being in the league as many years as he has, being down by 3 points, throw the football away.
Huge mental mistake by Tolliver. Now gives the Raiders a 5-point lead, and they'll be getting the football with the clock approaching 3 minutes.
And the Falcons with only one timeout left also.
So the free kick from the 20. It will be Dan Straczynski to punt it. Howard and Tim Brown awaiting the free kick. This will be Brown. Tim Brown tackled hard with a penalty marker down. Hand sparred on special teams with a beautiful tackle. And a penalty against Oakland.
Illegal block, number 55 on the return. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Now 13 penalties and 99 yards against Oakland. And of course, the other side of the safety is that if they can stop the Raiders and get good field position, it might turn out to be a fortunate play for Atlanta. Well, the penalties, 13 of them today after the Raiders had been doing so well in that department. Holston called for that one.
So maybe Bugle talking a little bit too much about penalty avoidance to us, saying his team is getting better, and all of a sudden 13 today.
So the Raiders begin from their own 22, first down, 3 minutes, 9 seconds on the clock. Fenner to the 26-yard line, tackled by Travis Hall.
Tackle on the play by
Timeout
by Atlanta. That's their final timeout of the game.
That's some impressive numbers right there in the second half for Jeff George. 5 of 6, 157 yards and 1 touchdown.
Stepping it up in the second half, Jeff George.
And the biggest thing right there, Tom, no turnovers, no interceptions.
fans, if you'd like to remain in your seats following today's
George
game,
getting the call from the sideline, and now
with head coach
clock stopped at 3:03, but Atlanta can stop it no more.
Jumbotron screen.
What the Falcons will try to do now is just make sure that they stay in bounds. Last week against the Kansas City Chiefs, one thing Napoleon Kaufman did wrong was he went out of bounds when he should have stayed in bounds to keep that clock rolling. I'm sure he realized that now after the fact, but sometimes you learn by your mistakes. Some costly mistakes.
It's 2nd and 6 for George. Derek Fenner, 2 or 3 yards. It'll be 3rd down. Jesse Tuggle got that tackle.
Tackle on the play by Jesse Hammer Tuggle.
All Jeff George will do right now is milk that clock. He'll have his play called. He'll come up to the line of scrimmage, take it down to at least 1 or 2 seconds, and make sure the running back stays inside and doesn't go out of bounds.
$8 yards a carry allowed by the Raiders. Play action fake. George's pass incomplete. They'll have to punt off the hands of Jerome Davison.
I think
Defended on the play by Sauer.
I'm sorry, Tom. I think that's a mistake by the Raiders. What you want to do is you want to be able to run the football, take it down to the 2-minute warning. Again, you take a chance of throwing an incomplete pass. And yes, if he catches it, it's a big plus. But when you're throwing a sideline pattern like that, at times the momentum will take you out of bounds. Not a very smart move on as far as what I look at it and think of it from that point of view.
And to punt, Eric Goose, and for the first time today, Ray Buchanan is set to return. Buchanan likes to make the big play, calls for the fair.
I know talking to him, he was excited. He wanted to be back there.
So Billy Joe Tolliver, a chance to be a hero, but he's down 5. He's hit 6 of 11 since replacing the injured Chris Chandler.
Well, you got 2 minutes and 9 seconds left in the game, and what happens? He knows he has a 2-minute warning coming up. Don't feel that you have to be able to go out there and win it on 1 or 2 throws. Know that you can use the sidelines. You got plenty of time.
Tolliver. Still looking. Got a block. And the pass is caught. Emmanuel made a good catch right up against the boundary.
Excellent job keeping his feet in, but Billy Joe Tolliver being able to move outside the pocket and make that play.
2-minute warning in Atlanta. 1:59 officially left. Can Tolliver and the Falcons pull it out? 1 tick under 2 minutes left. Billy Joe Tolliver, remember, earlier had an 80-yard drive in 2 plays, took just over a minute. It's possible, huh?
Oh, it's definitely possible. He's got plenty of time. He doesn't have any timeouts left. The one thing Billy Joe can't do is try to force, knowing that he just takes 1 play at a time.
He begins from his own 39. No timeouts left. He has time. Short receiver, crossing. Haynes can't get out of bounds. Gain of 8.
Billy Joe's got to get him on the ball.
Haynes has got to get off the field. And he does. Falcons are ready to go. They get Santiago back out for Haynes.
The Raiders safeties, if you look at their safeties, are playing very wide. In the last play, he had a guy wide open down the middle. He started looking right down the middle more.
Catch made, 45-yard line. Mathis, first down. Mathis right in front of Perry Carter, who's replacing the injured Terry McDaniel, made the catch. First down, Atlanta. Tolliver stops the clock by the grounding. Incomplete pass. Clock arrested at 1:11.
This is where I differ, Tom, at times. Right here, I'd sometimes like to get my team on the ball so that the defense cannot adjust and bring different personnel in there. At times, when you do spike the ball, yes, a lot of teams, probably majority of the teams will huddle up. Where I like to get them right back on the line of scrimmage. Don't let the defense get their cleats in the ground and be able to come after you.
But of course, you had so much experience in running the no huddle, might have been a little easier for you than it is the backup Billy Joe Tolliver.
Good point.
Tolliver again gets time down the sideline, and it is caught, but he's out of bounds. Bert Emanuel gathered it in, but he was out of bounds, no catch.
Again, Billy Joe's got to remember, don't try to go for the big play right now. He was covered. Try to see what he has underneath first. He sees the big play down the sidelines, but he was covered pretty well on the outside.
Pass carried him well out of bounds, and now, because they spiked the ball, they have only 2 downs remaining. It's 3rd and 10.
Billy Joe should know exactly where his receivers are, knowing that in practice who he likes to throw the football to.
Steps up, but is trapped and sacked at the 45-yard line by Anthony Smith. That's the one thing he could not do, was take a sack. 6th of the day for the Raiders.
This is a situation where you don't want to be sacked, but we talked earlier in the game that Dan Reeves talked to Antone Davis about this, that he didn't have a good first 2 games and has a big sack right there.
4th down. Tolliver throws it short to Green. Green has got to get the first down, and he will not. Blasted out of bounds by Mike Morton. And the Raiders have held on 4th down.
And all the Raiders got to do now is don't fumble the snap, just get under center and kneel down. Here's a replay right here. He's able to get the football to him, and that's an excellent job by Billy Joe being able to do that. But of course, what the Raiders try to do is try to keep everybody in front of them, knowing that if they do catch the football, all they have to do is tackle him before he gets to the first down marker.
Tolliver and the Falcons coming up short. And now Jeff George can only kill the clock and celebrate his return to Atlanta. And there's the gesture from Jeff George, pointing to the crowd that has booed him throughout the entire game. He'll keep that football, I suspect.
If he's going to boo to the crowd, he's point to the crowd. He might want to do it the whole way around the stadium.
And I believe he will. Falcons dominate time of possession, 36 minutes, 50 seconds, but lose the game. And look at Jeff George is rubbing it in.
He sure is. I don't know if I'd want to do that. Just accept the victory and go into the locker room.
Jeff George with a taunt for the Falcons fans who have booed him all day. Keeps the game ball as the Raiders notch their first victory of the season. A victory lap for Jeff George. He better hope he doesn't return to Atlanta anytime soon.
And he is. You're right. He's doing a victory lap. He's going to all four corners of the end zones, and he's not stopping.
Did they say this was the new, mature Jeff George? Strike that. We'll be back to Atlanta for some final comments after these messages as the Raiders outlast the Falcons 36-31.